Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga. Chapter 293. The prison cell was about 3 meters wide. There was only a fist-sized moonstone inside, emitting a faint glow. Yan Nanshan sat on a futon. Not only were his hands and feet chained, but his hair was also disheveled. His eyes, which were originally full of vigor, were now dim and turbid. Qin Feiyong could not believe what he was seeing. Was this still the high-spirited Yan Nanshan? He was already locked in the stone room. Why were his hands and feet shackled? Crack! He clenched his fists tightly, making cracking sounds. He tried hard to suppress the anger in his heart that was about to explode. Yan Nanshan was also looking at him. His empty eyes gradually regained a trace of color. Are you Feiyong? After a while, he opened his mouth and asked. His voice was hoarse and weak. It could not be compared to an old man. Boom! Hearing that voice, the anger in Qin Feiyong's heart was no longer able to be contained. It exploded. He turned to look at the guard captain and said angrily, "Why are you doing this to him?" The guard captain frowned. Who was this? How dare he speak to him with such an attitude? Ren Wushuang said, "Feiyong, calm down. Every prisoner on the first floor of the prison is like this." Qin Feiyong snorted coldly and strode into the prison cell. He squatted in front of Yan Nanshan and smiled. "Palace Master, it's me. I've troubled you." "It's really you. It seems that I'm not dreaming." Yan Nanshan was extremely excited. His empty eyes finally regained a trace of color. He instinctively reached out and grabbed Qin Feiyong's shoulder. However, the iron chains on his hands seemed to weigh millions of pounds. He could not lift his hands. Qin Feiyong lowered his head and looked at the iron chains. His eyes were filled with coldness. Divine gravity iron. As the son of an emperor, he could tell the material of the iron chain at a glance. Not only was the divine gravity iron extremely hard, but it was also very heavy. Such a small piece of nail weighed at least 10,000 pounds. Not to mention the entire iron chain. Moreover, once bound by this iron chain, one would not be able to use battle chi. It was equivalent to becoming an ordinary person. Damn bastard! Qin Feiyong didn't hide his anger as he scolded and took out pale snow. The guard captain frowned and said indifferently, "No one can break this chain unless they have the key." There was a trace of contempt in his eyes. Clang! But before he could finish his sentence, with a wave of Qin Feiyong's hand, Chang Shue's sharpness was revealed. The iron chains on Yan Nanshan's hands were immediately cut in half. How is this possible? The guard captain's eyes widened in anger and disbelief. You want to stump me with a mere gravity divine metal? In your dreams. Qin Feiyong disdainfully raised his hand and swiftly cut off the shackles. Without the chains binding him, Yan Nanshan's body felt lighter. Good, very good. I'm relieved to see you here. He raised his hands and grabbed Qin Feiyong's shoulders, nodded and laughed. Qin Feiyong's forehead was sweating. Because Yan Nanshan was so excited that he forgot to control his strength. Qin Feiyong's shoulders were almost broken. But he endured it silently, and there was no change on his face. How dare you! However, a shout that swept away the atmosphere suddenly exploded. The guard captain looked at Qin Feiyong gloomily and shouted, "Don't you know the rules of the prison? No one is allowed to untie the iron chains on prisoners without permission." "Get out!" Qin Feiyong shouted without turning his head. The guard captain was stunned. How dare he scold him? He looked at Ren Wushuang and said in a low voice, "Miss Wushuang, he broke the rules of the prison. I must arrest him." Rules are dead, but people are alive. It's Feiyong's first time in the prison. He doesn't know the rules at all. Guard captain, why are you making a fuss? Ren Wushuang frowned and said coldly, "Making a fuss?" The guard captain frowned. Guard captain, Qin Feiyong was just impatient. Please be magnanimous and don't hold him accountable. Yan Nanshan also hurriedly stood up and pleaded for Qin Feiyong. Okay, I won't hold him accountable this time. The guard captain said expressionlessly. He waved his hand and 2 more iron chains appeared out of thin air and fell to the ground with a clang. Put it on yourself, he said to Yan Nanshan. That contemptuous attitude and that disdainful look were as if he was looking at a tiny ant. Yes. Yan Nanshan replied respectfully. He sat on the futon and reached out to grab the iron chains. At this moment, Qin Feiyang grabbed his wrist and shook his head. As long as I'm here, I won't let you put this thing on. Yan Nanshan looked at the guard captain and said angrily, "Don't mess around, let go." Qin Feiyang didn't say anything. He held the Chang Shui and cut the 2 iron chains. "You're too presumptuous." The guard captain shouted and reached out his big hand to grab Qin Feiyang's shoulder. "No." Yan Nanshan's face changed. He didn't hesitate to slap the guard captain's arm away. The guard captain was furious. On his face, there was a vicious look that could not be removed. A prisoner should have the awareness of a prisoner. "Kneel down with me." He took a step forward and pressed his palm on Yan Nanshan's shoulder, pressing him to the ground. "Why should I kneel down?" Qin Feiyang said coldly. His eyes were full of killing intent. He waved his big hand and the Chang Shui shone with cold light. The guard captain hurriedly withdrew his arm. This dagger could even cut the iron chains, let alone his flesh and blood. But Qin Feiyang's action had undoubtedly enraged him. Boom! A terrifying pressure drowned Qin Feiyang like a tide. His face suddenly twisted. The terrifying pressure almost suffocated him. Seeing this, Ran Wushuang's face was full of anger. But she didn't say anything. Seeing that Ran Wushuang didn't help him, the guard captain became more arrogant. But Yan Nanshan's face darkened and he shouted, "Guard captain, you can humiliate me, but you can't hurt him." Boom! The aura of an 8-star combat emperor burst out from his body. The guard captain was sent flying and hit the wall behind him. Blood spurted out of his mouth. As soon as the pressure disappeared, Qin Feiyang's body went soft and he knelt on the ground. Yan Nanshan hurriedly supported him and asked with concern, "Feiyang, are you all right?" "I'm fine." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "Rebellion. This is really rebellion." At this moment, the guard captain shouted and stared at Qin Feiyang and Yan Nanshan. Qin Feiyang raised his head and sneered. "So you're just a... If it weren't for your status, the palace master could kill you with one hand." "Arrogant. I'll report to the commander now and let the 2 of you die without a burial place." The guard captain laughed sinisterly. "Enough." Ran Wushuang shouted and turned to look at the guard captain. He said coldly, "Even if the commander comes, don't even think about touching him." The guard captain was shocked. Didn't this lady not care before? Why did she say such ruthless words now? Actually, previously, Ran Wushuang didn't help because he had already said that he wouldn't help Qin Feiyang in any way in the future. He had to rely on himself. But seeing that the situation was getting worse and worse, how could she sit still? The guard captain struggled in his heart for a moment and snorted, "Miss Wushuang, I'm afraid this is not something you can decide." After saying that, he turned and walked out with a hint of greed in his eyes. "As long as I can lock this kid up in prison, that dagger will be mine." It turned out that he had taken a fancy to Chang Shui. Why is there such a big commotion? At this moment, a cold voice came into everyone's ears. Then, a square-faced man in white strode into the ancient tower. It was Wang Hong. The guard captain hurriedly went up and said, "Commander Wang, you've come at the right time. Someone wants to break out of prison." "Break out of prison?" Wang Hong raised his eyebrows and said angrily, "Who is so bold?" "It's him." The guard captain led Wang Hong to the door of the prison and pointed at Qin Feiyang with a hint of viciousness in his eyes. Wang Hong nodded to Ran Wushuang and then looked at Qin Feiyang and Yan Nanshan. The guard captain said, "Commander Wang, this kid is extremely arrogant. He must be severely punished." Yan Nanshan said in a deep voice, "Guard captain, Qin Feiyang only helped me break the iron shackles because he saw that I was tired. But you said that he broke out of prison. What are your intentions? Is what you did different from breaking out of prison?" The guard captain shouted in a stern voice. Qin Feiyang glanced at him indifferently and said to Wang Hong, "Commander, do you remember our agreement?" Wang Hong nodded. "Agreement?" The guard captain was taken aback as a sense of uneasiness welled up in his heart. Could it be that this person called Qin Feiyang was an old acquaintance of Commander Wang? Qin Feiyang said, "We agreed on 5 years. It hasn't even been a year. Shouldn't you fulfill your promise?" "That's right. But why did I hear that it was Ran Wushuang who went to pick you up?" "We agreed that we wouldn't let anyone help us," Wang Hong said. Hearing this, Qin Feiyong's heart filled with anger. Commander Wang Hong, it's already amazing that Feiyong could cross the desert of death and the sea of despair with his own efforts. Which young man in the spiritual state could do that? Why do you have to be so calculative? As for the silent mountain range, even my grandfather doesn't dare to set foot here. Aren't you making things difficult for him? I can't help but suspect that you have a grudge against Feiyong and want to use this as an excuse to get rid of him. Ran Wushuang frowned. Wang Hong's face twitched. He waved at the guard captain and said, "Go out and close the door." The guard captain hurriedly said, "But he wants to break out of prison. Get out." Wang Hong's face turned cold. "Yes." The guard captain's body trembled. He hurriedly turned and ran out of the ancient tower, closing the door. Wang Hong glanced at Qin Feiyong, then looked at Ren Wushuang and sighed. "There are some things that I don't want to say, but if I don't say it, you'll suspect that I have ulterior motives." He paused and said, "Actually, this was your idea, grandfather." "My grandfather?" Ren Wushuang was stunned. Qin Feiyong and Yan Nanshan looked at each other, their eyes filled with confusion. "We were just testing Qin Feiyong's courage. It's not that he had to do it. If he asked for help halfway, I would have gone to save him. Who knew that this kid would be so serious? He actually crossed the desert of death and the sea of despair. I have to say, it really exceeded our expectations." Wang Hong smiled helplessly and turned to look at Qin Feiyong, his eyes full of praise. "I see. Until now." Chapter 294. Qin Feiyong asked, "Can you release the temple master now?" This. Wang Hong hesitated. Qin Feiyong's eyelids twitched. Xuan's matter is not child's play. We must give a reasonable explanation to the outside world. Wang Hong pondered for a moment and smiled faintly. "How about this? I'll release Yan Nanshan after a year." "A year?" Qin Feiyong frowned. Yan Nanshan smiled. "Feiyong, I know you care about me, but Commander Wang Hong is right. If you release me now, the outside world will definitely have opinions." Qin Feiyong turned to look at him. Yan Nanshan smiled and nodded at him. "All right." Qin Feiyong sighed helplessly and looked at Wang Hong. "Commander Wang, can you not let the temple master wear those iron shackles?" "I'm afraid I can't. Because this is the rule. Not just Yan Nanshan, even me and the other commanders, including the 4 city lords, have to wear iron shackles if we commit a serious crime." Wang Hong shook his head. Yan Nanshan patted Qin Feiyong's shoulder and smiled. "It's all right. It's just a year. It'll be over soon." Sigh. Qin Feiyong sighed deeply and smiled. "Temple Master, take care. I'll definitely come and get you after a year." Since Wang Hong had already said so, what else could he say? Yan Nanshan nodded and reminded him. "Although your current strength has far surpassed your peers, you must not be complacent. You must work harder." "Don't you know me?" Qin Feiyong smiled. Yan Nanshan could not help but laugh. Indeed, this young man in front of him did not need anyone to remind him. This was because he was already working hard. Ren Wushuang smiled. "Feiyong, let's go." "All right." Qin Feiyong nodded and said, "Temple Master, we'll take our leave then." "Go." Yan Nanshan waved his hand. "Temple Master, take care. When we get out, Fat Lord will take you to pick up girls." Fatso smirked. "Picking up girls?" Yan Nanshan was stunned for a moment before he scolded with a smile. "Fatso, don't be so frivolous all day. If I find out that you're dragging Qin Feiyong down, I guarantee that I'll spank you the moment I come out. Fat Lord has a lot of meat. You can beat him up as much as you want." Fatso chuckled and chased after Qin Feiyong and the others. "I really don't know what to do with this kid." Yan Nanshan shook his head and laughed. Wang Hong said, "You should be glad that you took them in back then. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be able to walk out of this cage." Yan Nanshan nodded and said, "Yes, they will definitely become the pillars of the spiritual state." Wang Hong smiled and took out 2 iron chains. He turned around and walked out of the cell, closing the stone door behind him. Qin Feiyong stood in the long corridor and scanned the stone doors on both sides. He asked, "Commander Wang, which cell is Wei Zhongyang locked in?" Wang Hong thought for a moment and said, "I think he's in cell number 5. Qin Feiyong said, "Can I see him?" This. Wang Hong glanced at Ran Wushuang and nodded. All right, men. The tower door opened and the captain of the guards jogged over and bowed. Commander Wang, what are your orders? Wang Hong said. Open cell number 5. Yes. The captain of the guards ran to cell number 5 and took out the pentagonal key, opening the stone door quickly. Wei Zhongyang sat inside, looking even more pathetic than Yan Nanshan. He looked at the captain of the guards outside the door and said hoarsely, Sir, are you going to release me? The captain of the guards glanced at him in disdain and retreated to the side. Qin Feiyang strode over and stood in front of the door. Why is it you? Wei Zhongyang's expression changed. His eyes filled with disbelief. Surprised? Qin Feiyang's lips curled up slightly. He walked into the cell and squatted in front of Wei Zhongyang, smiling. Are you wondering why Commander Su didn't kill me? Wei Zhongyang's eyes flashed coldly. However, when he saw Wang Hong and Ren Wushuang outside the door, the coldness in his eyes was replaced by doubt. He asked, What are you talking about? Why would Commander Su want to kill you? Playing dumb? Qin Feiyang was stunned. He moved closer to Wei Zhongyang's ear and whispered, If Wang Hong and Ren Wushuang weren't here, I would have killed you right now. However, seeing you in such a pathetic state, living a life worse than death, is quite satisfying. You can stay here and suffer slowly. With that, Qin Feiyang stood up and left. When the stone door closed, Wei Zhongyang's face was instantly distorted, looking extremely ferocious. After leaving the prison, Wang Hong turned into a stream of light and left quickly. The guard captain walked in front of Qin Feiyang and cupped his fists. Little brother, I'm really sorry about what happened just now. Please forgive me. It's fine. Qin Feiyang glanced at him indifferently, then left with Ren Wushuang with Fatso, Lu Hong, and Wolf King. That dagger, I must get my hands on it. The guard captain looked at Qin Feiyang's back with a sinister look in his eyes. He turned around and entered the ancient castle again, opening Yan Nanshan's cell. Yan Nanshan was already shackled. He looked up at the guard captain and asked with a smile, Guard captain, is there a problem? Of course. The guard captain went up and slapped Yan Nanshan's face. What are you doing? Yan Nanshan's face darkened, and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. What am I doing? Weren't you very powerful just now? Continue to fight back. Trash, how dare you hurt me? You're courting death. The guard captain laughed sinisterly and punched and kicked Yan Nanshan. He was full of hostility. However, Yan Nanshan did not even make a sound during the entire process. He only looked at the guard captain coldly. Trash, your skin is so thick. My hand hurts. Trash. He seemed to have vented his anger. The guard captain swung his hand and spat on Yan Nanshan's face. He laughed proudly and turned to leave the cell. However, when he was about to close the door, he saw Yan Nanshan's cold eyes and could not help but shiver. Congratulations, you've completely angered me. Just you wait, I will not let you leave the prison alive. Because in here, I am the law. I have 10,000 ways to kill you. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes. With a bang, he closed the stone door. Then, he opened Wei Zhongyang's cell and strode in. He looked down at Wei Zhongyang and said with contempt, Do you want to live? Yes. Wei Zhongyang nodded, his face full of begging. Well, I want to know Qin Feiyang's situation. The more detailed, the better. The guard captain sneered. At the same time, Qin Feiyang and the others had already returned to the courtyard. Ren Wushuang asked, Feiyang, do you blame sister for not helping you save Yan Nanshan? No. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Although Ren Wushuang was the granddaughter of the palace master, she had no power at all. There were some things that she could not make the decision for. Moreover, the palace master had already said that she could not give him any help. Qin Feiyang asked, Sister, which district is the treasure pavilion in? I want to buy some things. Ren Wushuang said, Other than the central district, there are 4 districts. Do you want me to take you there? It's better not to, in case I get scolded by your grandfather. Qin Feiyang smiled and turned to walk out of the pavilion. Brother Wolf, let's go and act wildly. Fatso shouted excitedly. We are indeed kindred spirits. Acting wildly in the prefecture city will definitely be more satisfying than acting wildly in Yen City. The Wolf King stood up like a human and shot out like a rocket. Ran Wushuang's face darkened and said angrily, "Both of you, stop it. Killing is not allowed in the prefecture city." "Got it." "So long-winded." The man and the wolf shouted impatiently. They put their arms around each other's shoulders and laughed sinisterly. These two really want to see the world in chaos. Lu Hong walked behind them and shook her head helplessly. The mansion was too big. The three men and the wolf walked for an hour and asked the guards before they walked out of the mansion. Looking back, the gate of the mansion was majestic. Two golden lions stood on both sides of the gate. "It's actually made of gold." Fatso and Wolf King's eyes lit up and they drooled. The four guards at the door couldn't help but look at them vigilantly, as if they were guarding against thieves. "Don't embarrass me. Let's go." The veins on Qin Feiyang's forehead bulged and he kicked each of them. Lu Hong chuckled and said, "I think we should let them stay in the castle. Otherwise, something will happen." As soon as she said that, Fatso and Wolf King turned and glared at her. Lu Hong shook her head and smiled bitterly. She waved her hand and said, "Okay, okay, okay. Pretend I didn't say anything." The man and the wolf smiled proudly and swaggered on the street. However, their eyes were sneakily looking at the shops on both sides. No one knew what they were thinking. As for Qin Feiyang, his head was lowered the entire time, as if he was thinking about something. "What are you thinking about?" Lu Hong looked at him suspiciously for a moment and could not help but ask. "I'm worried about Yan Nanshan." Qin Feiyang said. "Didn't you say you would let him go after a year? What are you worried about?" Lu Hong was puzzled. That guard captain is not a kind person. Yan Nanshan hurt him before. "I'm worried that he will take the opportunity to revenge," Qin Feiyang said. Lu Hong thought about it carefully and nodded. "It's possible. According to my observation, the way he looked at you was a little strange." "Strange?" Qin Feiyang looked up at her in confusion. At that time, his attention was all on Yan Nanshan and he did not pay much attention to the guard captain. Lu Hong said. There seemed to be a trace of greed in his eyes. "Greed?" Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something and his eyes lit up. At the same time, Lu Hong's eyes also turned cold. She said, "I understand. He must be coveting Chang Shui. You and I have the same idea," Qin Feiyang said in a low voice. At that time, except for Chang Shui, they did not take out anything. Therefore, this was the only explanation. "Then what should we do?" Lu Hong asked, a little worried. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and looked up at Fatso. He said, "Fatso, come here." "Why?" Fatso turned to look at him. Qin Feiyang said angrily, "Just come here. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Why are you angry for no reason?" Fatty and the Wolf King looked at each other. With their heads full of doubts, they turned around and walked to Qin Feiyang's side. Qin Feiyang said to Fatso, "I want you to bribe the guards guarding the prison in the shortest time possible, except for the guard captain." Bribe them for what? Fatso was confused. Chapter 295. So it's like that. Fatso frowned. This matter was not easy to handle, because those guards were all war emperors. If he was not careful, he would suffer. He could not help but sigh. "Boss, the mission you gave me is really difficult." "I know it's difficult, but I believe you have the ability. Actually, you don't have to bribe all of them. Just one of them will do, but this person must be reliable. You have to observe carefully," Qin Feiyang warned. "All right, Fat Lord will do his best." Fatso nodded. "Not do your best, but you must do it," Qin Feiyang said seriously. Fatso took a deep breath and said, "All right, Fat Lord will definitely complete the mission." Qin Feiyang patted his shoulder and said with a smile, "That's good. Give me the ingredients for the potential pill." Fatso took out a Chenkuan bag and threw it to Qin Feiyang. He chuckled and said, "After completing the mission, is there any reward?" Qin Feiyang shook his head and said with a smile, "Sure, when the time comes, you can buy whatever you want. But there's one thing you have to remember. You can use anything to bribe them, except for the water and cold avoidance pearls. Lu Hong, you have to remember this too," Qin Feiyang warned with a serious expression. "Why?" The two of them were puzzled. These were rare treasures. If they were to be auctioned, they would definitely be sold for a good price. The first reason why the mermaid clan could survive until now without being discovered is because they never appear in front of others. And the second reason is because the water and cold avoidance pearls are rare, so people can't dive to the bottom of the sea. Qin Feiyang said softly. If not for his relationship with the mermaid princess, he would not have so many worries. But the situation now was different. He had to do his best to keep this secret and not let the mermaid princess get hurt. Lu Hong and Fatso looked at each other, and a meaningful smile appeared on their faces. It seemed that this cold emperor's son had really fallen in love with her. It was just a pity for those water avoidance pearls and cold avoidance pearls. They had plundered quite a lot in Undersea City. Wolf King, in particular, had swept away at least tens of thousands of them in just a few months. Now, they could only be piled up in the Qiankuan bag like trash. Qin Feiyang looked at the strange smiles on their faces and couldn't help but roll his eyes. He waved his hand and said, "Go on, I'll wait for your good news." Fat Lord is as good as two people. Fatso patted his chest and said. Then, he rushed towards the prison. Lu Hong retracted her gaze and asked, "Which district are we going to?" "East City." Qin Feiyang smiled. The two of them looked around curiously as they sped towards the eastern part of the city. They were still very unfamiliar with this city. As for Wolf King, without the like-minded Fatso accompanying him, he seemed to have lost interest. It was different from Yen County. Qin Feiyang was really unknown here. None of the pedestrians on the street paid attention to him. At most, they would look at Wolf King a few more times. Qin Feiyang also enjoyed this feeling. Maybe it was in his bones that he liked to keep a low profile and be calm. "I remember the Mansion Lord told you to report to the Sacred Palace." "What is the Sacred Palace?" Lu Hong suddenly asked. Qin Feiyang said, "The Sacred Palace is the combination of the Martial Arts Hall and the Pill Hall." "Combination? You mean the Pill Hall and the Martial Arts Hall have combined?" Lu Hong was shocked. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. The division of forces in the 9 prefectures was different from the 18 counties. The 18 counties had the Precious Treasure Pavilion, the Martial Arts Hall, the Danwang Hall, the Royal Family, and 4 super forces. But in the 9 prefectures, the only super forces were the Sacred Palace and the Precious Treasure Pavilion. However, there were quite a few other major forces as well. But there was only one person in charge, and that was the Mansion Lord. For example, the Palace Lord of the Sacred Palace, the Precious Treasure Pavilion, the people in charge of the various super forces, and the 4 city lords had to obey his orders. In other words, the Mansion Lord was the ruler of a state. Of course, unless something major happened, the Mansion Lord would not intervene in the disputes between the various forces. He was an existence that transcended the world. Unknowingly, the sky gradually darkened. Although the central city was located in the center of the state capital, the Mansion Lord's residence was very far from the Precious Treasure Pavilion in the East City. With the speed of the 2 people and the wolf, it took them a whole day to reach the East City. When they reached the Precious Treasure Pavilion, it was already midnight. There were only a few people on the street. The door of the Precious Treasure Pavilion was also closed. Lu Hong said helplessly, "The city is too big, and it's annoying." "This is nothing. The imperial capital is bigger. With our current speed, we won't be able to enter another city without a few months." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Lu Hong frowned. "That's too troublesome." Qin Feiyang replied, "No, every single city in the imperial capital has a fixed teleportation gate. We just have to pay a fee to teleport. I really want to check out the imperial capital as soon as possible." When Lu Hong and Wolf King heard that, they could not help but look expectant. "We'll go sooner or later, right?" Qin Feiyang's eyes shone as he scanned the surrounding streets. A few hundred meters to the right, there was a rather grand restaurant. It was brightly lit. Qin Feiyang said, "Let's stay at that restaurant for a night first." The 2 people and the wolf sped over. When they arrived at the restaurant, a clamor entered their ears. "Drunken Dreams Restaurant." Lu Hong raised her head to look, only to see 3 large characters engraved on the door in flamboyant calligraphy. A waiter ran out and sized up Qin Feiyang and Wolf King. He retreated to the side and said with a smile, "Please come in. I want 2 rooms. Do you have them?" Lu Hong asked. "Yes, they are all top-notch rooms." The waiter nodded. Then lead the way, Lu Hong said with a smile. The two people and the wolf followed behind the waiter. When they entered the lobby, the people who were drinking and chatting inside all looked at them. However, they only glanced at Qin Feiyong and Lu Hong before locking their gazes on Wolf King. There was a trace of curiosity on their faces. Wolf King had broken through to the 3-star Battle King realm. His body was 5 meters long and 2 meters tall. The fur on his body was as white as snow, making him look quite handsome. Some of the slightly drunk young women with red cheeks couldn't help but see stars. Wolf King said proudly, "I didn't expect this brother to be so popular." In the past, when people saw him in the county of Yen, it was as if they had seen a ghost. This was the first time he had been treated like this. "Lu Feng, I want that wolf." In a corner, a rather beautiful woman in red was hugging the arm of a purple-clothed youth. She stared at Wolf King with shining eyes and said in a coquettish voice. The purple-clothed youth called Lu Feng glanced at Wolf King indifferently, then turned his head and looked at the woman in red with a lewd smile. Wolves are vicious creatures by nature. They are not suitable for a beautiful woman like you. If you want to play, I'll play with you. You can play however you want. As he spoke, he held the woman in red's waist with one hand and squeezed the woman's dress with the other, rubbing her 2 towering peaks. In front of everyone, it could be said that he was unscrupulous. The key was that not only did the woman not resist, she even catered with a face full of lust and giggled non-stop. The same scene was happening in a few other corners. The man had an outstanding temperament, and the woman was charming and moving. The other diners seemed to be used to it. "How shameless," Lu Hong whispered, her eyes full of disgust. The disgust on Qin Feiyong's face was even stronger. Although the restaurant was originally a romantic place, at least they should restrain themselves a little. The waiter noticed the strangeness of the two and hurriedly said, "Two guests, please follow me." Lu Hong said, "Lead the way." The waiter led the two people and the wolf upstairs. Seeing this, the woman in red hurriedly said, "Lu Feng, stop them. I want to ride it to play." "What's the point of riding it?" Go, find a room and ride me. I'll take you to show off and fly." Lu Feng squeezed the soft jade hard, his eyes full of lust. Bastard couple. Hearing this dirty conversation, Lu Hong couldn't help spitting. "Ride me to play." "Damn, you dare to treat me as a pet." The Wolf King was stunned, and then a wisp of a ferocious glint appeared in its bell-like pupils. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and said, "There's nothing to be angry about. Don't forget the old man's instructions. Keep a low profile." This old man was naturally the mansion master. "No, I want it. As long as you help me get it, I'll be yours tonight." The woman in red's coquettish voice sounded again. Qin Feiyong's face twitched, and he couldn't help but get angry. He muttered, "Don't ask for a snub." But when the purple-clothed young man, Lu Feng, heard the woman in red's words, he immediately lost his mind and ignored everything else. Smack! He slapped the table. He got up and looked at Qin Feiyong, the woman and Wolf King, and shouted, "Stop right there. Damn! Brother Wolf is not angry. Do you think I'm a sick cat?" Wolf King flew into a rage. "Be quiet." Qin Feiyong glanced at it indifferently, turned to look at Lu Feng, and said with a faint smile, "What's the matter?" Lu Feng raised his eyebrows and said, "Didn't you hear what my woman said? Leave that wolf here." "Impossible." Qin Feiyong shook his head. The woman in red giggled and said, "You just want money, right? Just name a price." Qin Feiyong was stunned and said with a smile, "It seems that you are very rich." "Nonsense. Do you know who I am?" "This young master has enough money to crush you to death," Lu Feng said proudly. Lu Hong and Wolf King looked at each other, and a trace of playfulness crept into their eyes. "I'm a reasonable person. It's your business that you have money. What you want to do with that woman is also your business. I can't control it. So, please be a reasonable person and don't force me. You guys have fun. I won't accompany you." Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and continued to walk upstairs. "I'm giving you face, but you don't want it." Lu Feng jumped a few times, landed on the stairs, and walked towards Qin Feiyong with a face full of anger. "Trash, what do you want?" Lu Hong turned around and stared at him coldly. "Yeah. You have guts, daring to speak to me like that." "Little beauty, I'm a person who has tender feelings for the fairer sex, If you accompany me to have fun, hee, I can consider it, but I won't make things difficult for you. Chapter 296. Lu Hong's gaze turned cold, as if she had transformed into an iceberg with a bone-piercing chill. Ha. Lu Feng's pupils constricted as he burst into laughter. I like women with a fiery temper. It's more exciting and interesting to play with. Lu Hong looked at Qin Feiyong with a cold glint in her eyes. Do as you deem fit. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. Since someone came looking for a beating, there was no harm in teaching him a lesson. Although the state capital had rules that prohibited fighting, as long as both parties agreed, sparring was still allowed. It was fine as long as no lives were lost. Little beauty, as long as you accompany me for a night, I'll give you whatever you want. Looking at this cold woman before him, a strong desire to possess and conquer surged in Lu Feng's heart. He did not realize that a disaster was about to befall. Perhaps, he was fearless and felt that two people and a wolf would not dare to do anything to him? Lu Hong's red lips curled up slightly as she said with a smile, as long as you can defeat me, I'll accompany you tonight. That's what you said. Lu Feng's eyes lit up as he placed one hand behind his back. I'll give you a handicap of one hand. If I can't subdue you within 3 moves, it'll be my loss. I don't need 3 moves. Lu Hong shook her head and said with a smile. At least you know your limits. Bring it on. I'll be very gentle. Lu Feng scanned Lu Hong's figure and laughed lewdly. Get ready to wail. Lu Hong smiled and her face turned cold. Swoosh. As soon as she finished speaking, she disappeared from Lu Feng's sight. Pyak. Following closely, a resounding slap resounded within the Drunken Dream Inn. What's going on? The diners below were shocked. They discovered that a blood-red palm print had appeared on Lu Feng's face. Then they looked at Lu Hong. She stood in front of Lu Feng with a face as cold as ice. Did she hit him? Unbelievable. She's so fast. Everyone present turned pale with fright. You actually dare to slap me in public? Lu Feng was also stunned on the spot. His big hand touched his burning face, and his face was filled with disbelief. Smelly bitch, this young master will strip you naked right now and let you know the consequences of offending this young master. He suddenly roared and looked at Lu Hong with a ferocious expression, reaching out to grab Lu Hong's dress. Dirty mouth, slap it. Lu Hong said coldly. Her jade-like hand shot out like lightning. Smack. Immediately, a series of ear-piercing slaps could be heard. In front of Lu Hong, Lu Feng was just like a 3-year-old child, without the slightest ability to retaliate. A short while later, his originally handsome face was now covered in palm prints and swollen like a pig's head. The teeth in his mouth were also smashed into pieces, and blood splattered everywhere. This woman is so strong. When the men below saw this scene, they couldn't help but shiver. But what happened next made them even more frightened. Lu Hong lifted her foot and kicked. With a crack, Lu Feng's whole body flew out, and blood spurted out from his crotch. His balls were broken, and his bird died. Everyone was scared out of their wits. This woman was really ruthless. She actually kicked Lu Feng's balls. The crowd below retreated. Lu Feng smashed onto a table, and the table immediately fell into pieces. He fell to the ground, covering his lower body. Ah! He wailed in pain and kept rolling on the ground. His face was twisted and deformed. You don't understand what I mean. What I mean is, to deal with trash like you, I don't need 3 moves at all. Lu Hong looked at Lu Feng contemptuously, turned around, clapped her hands, and walked towards Qin Feiyong. There was not a trace of blood on her body. Her expression was incomparably calm. Qin Feiyong said unhappily, next time you do this kind of thing, tell me and let me do it. After all, you're a woman. Don't dirty your feet. Lu Hong nodded. Her cheeks were also a little red. She really didn't think of this when she was angry just now. Now that she thought about it, this kind of behavior was indeed a little indecent. She had to be more careful next time. The crowd below looked at each other. They thought that Qin Feiyong was going to blame Lu Hong for being too heavy-handed. But they didn't expect that he was just afraid of dirtying her feet. What was the background of these two people? Didn't they know that the forces behind Lu Feng were enough to crush them? They also didn't know that Qin Feiyong was a person who was not afraid of anything. No matter how strong Lu Feng's background was, if he provoked him, he would still kill him. It's better to keep a low profile. If you're too ostentatious, you'll get into big trouble sooner or later. He glanced at Lu Feng indifferently, turned to look at the shop assistant, and said with a smile, "Lead the way." Yes, yes, yes. The shop assistant was also in a daze. Obviously, he didn't expect that Lu Hong would be so ridiculously strong. Hearing Qin Feiyang's voice, he quivered and hurriedly led the way. Kicking his balls is more painful than killing him directly. You little girl, you're too ruthless, but I like it. Wolf King chuckled. Lu Hong rolled her eyes at it and said helplessly, I learned it from you guys. Wolf King said, this kind of good tradition has to be learned. Get lost. Qin Feiyang kicked. Didn't he see that Lu Hong was a woman? Good tradition? Shameless? Bitch, what are you doing there? Come over here and help me back. Suddenly, Lu Feng's stern shout sounded. Two people and a wolf looked down. They saw that the woman in red was scared silly. She curled up there, her face pale and her body trembling. Hearing Lu Feng's stern shout, her body trembled, and she hurriedly ran over and hugged Lu Feng's arm. Lu Feng endured the pain and struggled to get up. Following that, he raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang and Wolf King, and said resentfully, just you wait, tomorrow will be the day of your death. All right, I'll wait. Qin Feiyang revealed a mouthful of white teeth. Is this a provocation? Everyone's hearts trembled as they searched their memories. However, after searching through all their memories, they couldn't find any information about this person. They were sure that this person was just a nobody. But why did he dare to challenge Lu Feng? Could it be that he didn't know how powerful Lu Feng's backer was? As expected, newborn calves were not afraid of tigers. Lu Feng laughed sinisterly. Let's see how arrogant you can be, let's go. Wait. At this moment, a round middle-aged fatso walked out from the back hall. The fat all over his body jumped up and down, trembling non-stop. Wolf King opened his eyes wide and said in surprise, he can't be Fatso's brother, right? Lu Hong said, how is that possible? Even if they are related, he should be Fatso's father. Qin Feiyang was speechless. I say, the two of you, that's enough, especially you white-eyed wolf. You have already led Lu Hong astray. Let me tell you, don't push everything onto me. I'm not a fool. Wolf King glared fiercely at Qin Feiyang. Lu Hong could not help but cover her mouth and snicker. The middle-aged fatso blocked in front of Lu Feng, like a smiling Buddha, and asked very politely, young Master Lu, if you leave just like that, what about my losses? What do you have to lose? Isn't it just a broken table? Lu Feng roared in exasperation. Didn't he see that he was already like this? He even asked him to compensate for his losses. He was really blind. However, because he spoke too forcefully, it affected the wound on his lower body, causing him to grimace in pain and howl miserably. The middle-aged fatso laughed happily. Lu Feng roared with a sinister expression. Bastard, you actually dare to laugh at this young master. Do you believe that this young master will bring people tomorrow and tear down this broken building of yours? We'll talk about tomorrow's matters tomorrow. As for now, let's talk about the compensation first. Wait a minute, let me calculate, how much did we lose? The middle-aged fatso walked to the broken table and scanned the messy ground. Soon, he calculated a number in his heart. He turned and walked in front of Lu Feng, chuckling. Young Master Lu, a total of 10 million gold coins. Is it on account or in cash? What? 10 million? The people present, including Qin Feiyang and Wolf King, were all dumbfounded. With just this little loss, no matter how they calculated, it would not be 10 million gold coins. Wasn't this daylight robbery? Is this a black shop? The two men and the wolf looked at each other. Even the shop assistants felt that it was inconceivable. Lu Feng was also stunned for a moment, and suddenly went crazy with anger, roaring. Damn fatso, you're deliberately looking for trouble, aren't you? Do you think that this young master really doesn't dare to touch your drunken dream house? I'm not looking for trouble. The middle-aged fatso had an innocent face. Let me calculate with you. The wood used for the table was a 10,000-year-old ancient tree. It had been carved by several master carvers over the course of a year. It can be said that it is priceless. And those chairs are also thousands of years old ancient trees. In addition, those plates and chopsticks are all polished with peerless jade. And that floor, although it looks ordinary, it is the real best amber stone. In fact, 10 million gold coins is already a discount for you. The middle-aged fatso laughed. The whole place was silent, and they all looked at the middle-aged fatso speechlessly. That 10,000-year-old ancient tree was actually the most ordinary wood, estimated to be less than 10 years old. As for those plates and chopsticks, they were indeed polished with jade, but no matter how they looked at it, they were not peerless jade. As for the top-grade amber stone, it was even more ridiculous. It was simply an ordinary stone that couldn't be more ordinary. In the mountains outside the city, there was a large pile. Wolf King bared his teeth and said, "I finally see what is the real meaning of shamelessness. This fatso is simply too outrageous." Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong nodded, deeply agreeing. As for Lu Feng, his face was ashen, and his eyes were as if he wanted to kill someone. This was a blatant extortion. They also attacked. Why don't you ask them for compensation? Are you blind? Can't you see that I'm also a victim? Lu Feng pointed at Qin Feiyang and Wolf King upstairs and roared. Ha! It's because I'm not blind that I saw that you were the one who started it. They have already tolerated you several times. Our drunken dream house is open for business. We definitely can't wrong a good person, right? The middle-aged fatso laughed. Interesting. Qin Feiyang raised the corner of his mouth. Lu Feng glanced at the two people in the wolf, then looked at the middle-aged fatso, and gnashed his teeth. Fine, you win. Record it for me, let's go. The woman in red immediately supported him and walked outside. Chapter 297. Lu Feng immediately staggered. If not for the woman in red supporting him, he would have fallen. Although he did not fall, this stagger caused blood to flow from his lower body. Between his legs, there was a heart-wrenching pain. Bitch, just you wait. If I don't settle this score with you, I swear I'm not human. He turned his head and looked at Lu Hong ferociously. Then, with a heart full of humiliation, he left without looking back. Humph! Lu Hong snorted coldly, a hint of killing intent lurking in the depths of her eyes. The middle-aged fatso withdrew his gaze and glanced at everyone present. His eyes instantly darkened. Do you know why I did this? Everyone shook their heads. Those who come to my drunken dream inn are all guests. I don't want to see anyone causing trouble here and destroying the harmonious atmosphere. Lu Feng's matter. Take it as a lesson. If anyone dares to cause trouble here in the future, it won't be so simple. After the middle-aged fatso finished speaking, he raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang. He nodded with a smile and turned to leave. So that's how it is. Until now. Everyone understood the middle-aged fatso's intention. But soon, everyone's eyes gathered on Qin Feiyang and the others. There was a trace of gloating in their eyes. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and turned to the waiter. Where's the room? This way. The waiter led them to a corner on the second floor and opened the door. It was very big inside, with a tea room, bedroom, and dining room. The decoration was also very luxurious. The waiter smiled. The other room is next door. Lu Hong said, take me there. Qin Feiyang suddenly said, no need, we only need one room. The waiter was stunned and nodded. Okay. Qin Feiyang walked into the room and said to the waiter, I have something to ask you. The waiter said apologetically, I'm sorry, I have to go down to entertain the guests. Qin Feiyang nodded to Lu Hong. Lu Hong understood and took out 100 gold coins. She smiled and said, is this enough? The shop assistant was dumbfounded. So many gold coins? He quickly nodded and said, yes, yes, yes. As he spoke, he quickly put it into his universe bag, as if he was afraid that Qin Feiyang would change his mind. After the waiter and Wolf King entered the room, Lu Hong closed the door and obediently walked into the tea room. After cleaning the tea set, he took out the best tea leaves from his Chenkuan bag and began to brew tea. These tea leaves were specially prepared for Qin Feiyang. Because she knew that Qin Feiyang didn't like to drink, he only liked to drink tea. Sitting beside the coffee table, Qin Feiyang pointed to the chair beside him and smiled. Don't be nervous. Sit down and talk. The shop assistant waved his hand and said, no need, no need. I'll stand. Qin Feiyang didn't force the issue and asked, is the Lu family very strong? Very strong. The shop assistant said that the Lu family was the largest family in the East City. At least half of the young disciples in the family had entered the Holy Palace. The Lu family's ancestor was the castellan of the East City. It's a bit unexpected. Qin Feiyong muttered and asked again. What about the Drunken Dream Pavilion? The Drunken Dream Pavilion is the largest restaurant in the city. No, it should be the largest restaurant in the spirit state. Because, whether it's the 4 major districts of the city or the cities outside the city, there's a Drunken Dream Pavilion. Rumor has it that the Pavilion Lord of the Drunken Dream Pavilion has a very good relationship with the castellan. The shop assistant said truthfully. Qin Feiyong suddenly understood. No wonder the middle-aged fatso blatantly extorted Lu Feng. Qin Feiyong said, Who is that middle-aged fatso? He's the Pavilion Lord of the Drunken Dream Pavilion in the East City. His name is He Dade. We all call him Pavilion Lord He, but outsiders call him He Wicked. The shop assistant said with a smile. The Wolf King sat on the chair like a human and bared his teeth. The name He Kade suits him very well. Ah. The shop assistant was stunned and said with a wry smile, Actually, Pavilion Lord He is a good person. He takes good care of us. I can see that. Qin Feiyong smiled and waved his hand. You can leave. Prepare some good dishes and send them to me as soon as possible. Wolf King added, Remember to ask for a lot. This brother's appetite is very big. Also, the wine must be the best. Give this brother 180 jugs first. 180 jugs? The shop assistant's jaw almost dropped from shock. Wolf King said unhappily, Are you afraid this brother can't afford it? The shop assistant hurriedly waved his hand and said, No, but Lord Wolf, can you finish it? 100 gold coins in one shot. These 2 people and 1 wolf were obviously rich people. How could they not be able to pay? Wolf King shouted, Cut the crap, hurry up. Yes, this little one will arrange it right away. The shop assistant responded respectfully, turned around and trotted out. Lu Hong poured a cup of tea and pushed it in front of Qin Feiyong. She said with a smile, Brother Wolf, aren't you afraid of bursting your stomach? Wolf King chuckled and said, This brother's stomach is very big. Not to mention 180 jugs. Even if there are a few hundred jugs, I can still drink it. Qin Feiyong said, I won't object to drinking, but don't make trouble after drinking. Wolf King waved his paw impatiently and said, So long-winded. Don't worry, this brother's wine tolerance is very good. Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes, picked up the teacup and tasted it. He couldn't help but be stunned. Every time, the tea that Lu Hong brewed would have the same taste. There was a hint of sweetness in the fragrance, but if one tasted it carefully, they would find that it was mixed with a hint of bitterness. He liked this kind of tea very much. However, it was not a coincidence that it tasted the same every time. He turned to look at Lu Hong with a strange look in his eyes. Lu Hong was puzzled and asked, What's wrong? You don't like the taste of this tea? Then I'll find you other tea leaves tomorrow. Thank you. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, Thank me? Lu Hong was stunned. You're too kind. I like the taste of this tea very much. Qin Feiyong smiled. Lu Hong revealed a look of realization and said with a smile, Actually, you don't have to thank me. If it weren't for your help, I would still be a small figure in the Danwang Hall. She was very emotional. The 3rd level of the Gate of Potential. She had become a 1-star Battle King at the age of 18. She also had white wings and battle soul. She had even entered the state capital. In the past, she wouldn't even dare to think about these. And all of these were brought to her by the man in front of her. Of course. The person she should be most grateful to was Fatso. If it weren't for Fatso dragging her into his trap, she wouldn't have achieved what she had today. She couldn't help but want to laugh when she thought of what happened back then. Soon, the waiter served the dishes. Qin Feiyong and Lu Hong ate a little and put down their bowls and chopsticks, leaving the Wolf King to devour everything. He even howled from time to time. Lu Hong found it funny. She had never seen such a way of eating. Suddenly, she seemed to have thought of something and turned to look at Qin Feiyong and asked, You didn't let me stay next door because you were worried that Lu Feng would harm me? Yes. You were so ruthless. He definitely won't let it go. But don't worry. This is a dispute between the younger generation. The older generation of the Lu family won't interfere. After all, this is the state capital, not the county of Yen. If the older generation were to interfere, the Lu family would really become a joke. Qin Feiyong smiled. Wolf King chuckled and said, As long as the older generation doesn't interfere, We can sweep them away with our current strength. Lu Hong also smiled. Qin Feiyang said, but I'm afraid that Lu Feng will send someone to assassinate us. So, we have to be extra careful. Okay. The man and the wolf nodded. Qin Feiyang said, contact Fatso. Lu Hong took out the image crystal and quickly activated it. Soon, Fatty's image condensed into a phantom. Lu Hong asked, how is it? Fatso burped and said unhappily, so fast. You're here? Fat Lord is still looking for information about them. It will take at least 5 days to half a month to get results. You were drinking over there? Qin Feiyang frowned. I drank a little, but Fat Lord knows his limits. He won't mess things up. Fatso chuckled and patted his chest. Qin Feiyang said, it's good that you know your limits. Be careful over there. Fatso nodded. After turning off the image crystal, Qin Feiyang let Lu Hong rest on the bed. He also entered the tea room and half reclined on the chair. He closed his eyes and recuperated while pondering. There were many problems that he would face next. For example, battle arts. After stepping into the War King realm, battle arts were no longer of much use. And he, Wolf King, Fatso, and Lu Hong all needed battle arts. But the key was that battle arts were very precious, and everyone would carefully hide them. Back then, he should have read all the battle arts in the Imperial Palace's martial arts treasury. But at that time, he would never have thought that he would be reduced to such a state today. The night was silent. Early the next morning, Lu Hong woke up Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang washed up a little, changed into a clean set of clothes, scanned the room, and asked, where's the white-eyed wolf? Lu Hong was startled and shook her head. I don't know either, didn't it tell you? At this moment, the two of them realized that something was wrong. Wolf King must have snuck out while they were asleep last night. Qin Feiyang said, hurry up and ask the waiter. All right. Lu Hong hurriedly walked out of the room and quickly returned. She shook her head and said, waiter, I didn't see it go down. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows, walked to the window, and immediately found some white hair in the cracks of the window. He took a closer look and saw that it was Wolf King's hair. This bastard really ran away. Qin Feiyang was furious. Moreover, at that time, Wolf King must have been dead drunk. Otherwise, with its strength, it wouldn't have left white hair here. Lu Hong asked anxiously, what do we do now? Wolf King did not have any image crystal on him. The city was so big, and an entire night had passed. Who knew where it had gone? Most importantly, if it ran out drunk, it might cause some big trouble. It really doesn't make people worry at all. Forget it, it's better if it dies outside. It'll save us some trouble. Qin Feiyang quickly went downstairs with a belly full of anger. After Lu Hong paid the bill, the two of them left the Drunken Dream Inn and arrived at the entrance of the Treasure Pavilion. The precious Treasure Pavilion here was much more impressive than the one in Yen City. Even the two guards at the door were 9-star War King. Chapter 298. Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong were about to enter the Treasure Pavilion. However, when a conversation entered their ears, they immediately stopped in their tracks. Have you heard? Last night, there was a wolf howl in the East City. The news spread early in the morning. I heard that someone saw a white wolf that was 4 or 5 feet long. It seemed to be drunk and crazy. Wolves drink too? What a weirdo. I also heard that the beast went to peek at a woman bathing and was chased by the woman for a few streets. Damn, what a piece of work. Who is that woman? I think she's a young lady from the Lu family. Awesome. She dares to go to the Lu family and cause trouble. A few middle-aged men passed by the street in front of the precious treasure pavilion and discussed with great interest. That bastard wolf. Qin Feiyang clenched his fists and his joints cracked. Don't you know that the old ancestor of the Lu clan is the city lord of the East City? Most importantly, he had been discovered. Wasn't this causing trouble for him? Lu Hong whispered, going to the Lu family to cause trouble is not a child's play. What should we do now? Qin Feiyang said, what else can we do? Find her. Get out of the way, get out of the way. Don't block my young master's way. But at this moment, a series of arrogant shouts sounded. Qin Feiyang looked in the direction of the sound and saw a group of people walking towards them. The two men in black leading the group looked ferocious and repulsive. Behind them, two middle-aged men in servant clothes were carrying an armchair. A young man in purple was half lying on the armchair. It was Lu Feng. And behind the armchair, there were more than 10 men in black. The group of people swaggered through the streets aggressively. The pedestrians in front of them retreated to the sides in panic. "Young Master Lu, why are you making such a big commotion?" Someone muttered in confusion. Someone immediately whispered, "I heard that a woman kicked his balls in the Drunken Dream Pavilion last night. He must be going to that woman to settle the score." Serves him right. He usually takes pleasure in toying with women. Now that his manhood has been destroyed by a woman, this is retribution. Keep your voice down. If he hears us, we'll be in big trouble. Some people were discussing in low voices. "You came so quickly." Qin Feiyong smiled coldly and brought Lu Hong into the treasure pavilion. "Aren't we going to find Wolf King?" Lu Hong asked. "I'm not going." The Lu family didn't catch it, so it must be running wild somewhere. Qin Feiyong shook his head. The mention of Wolf King gave him a headache. "Are you sure?" Lu Hong was surprised. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and said, "If the white-eyed wolf is caught by the Lu family, Lu Feng will definitely bring him here. What if he gets killed?" Lu Hong was worried. "That's even more impossible. Lu Feng hates us to the bone. How could he kill it so easily?" Speaking of this, Qin Feiyong snorted and said, "If he dies, then he deserves it." Lu Hong shook her head and laughed. Qin Feiyong was a typical sharp-tongued but soft-hearted person. In fact, he was more worried about Wolf King's safety than anyone else. A staff member greeted Qin Feiyong and Lu Hong. It was a young woman, about 24 or 25 years old. She had a pretty face and a tall figure. She was wearing a long white dress. On her chest were the words Treasure Pavilion embroidered. "Qin Die greets young master in Mississippi." She gently and politely bowed to Qin Feiyong and Lu Hong and asked with a smile, "How can I help you?" "Qin Die?" Qin Feiyong was stunned and looked at her curiously. Lu Hong glanced at Qin Feiyong and said with a smile, "Miss Die, we want to buy a furnace. The price is negotiable, but the quality must be good." Qin Die's bright eyes flashed with surprise. She bowed and said, "I didn't know Miss was an alchemist. Sorry for the disrespect." Lu Hong wanted to explain that she was not an alchemist. But she suddenly remembered that she was indeed an alchemist. However, ever since she had followed Qin Feiyong, she had never refined pills again, causing her to almost forget that she still had the identity of a pill master. "Please follow me to the second floor." Qin Die glanced at Qin Feiyong. She found that Qin Feiyong kept looking at her and was a little unhappy. Men were indeed the same. They could not take their eyes off a woman. But customers were above all. She did not show her displeasure. The two of them followed behind Qin Die to the second floor. Lu Hong looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously and whispered, "Why are you staring at her like that? Have you taken a liking to her?" Qin Feiyong was stunned and smiled bitterly. "Your imagination is almost on par with Fatso's. I just couldn't help but observe her a little longer because her surname is Qin." Lu Hong came to a realization. Qin Feiyong was not a playboy. The first floor was huge, spanning hundreds of feet. There were all kinds of people. But the second floor was smaller. Those who could be on the second floor were all dressed in luxurious clothes. One could tell at a glance that they were either rich or noble. Qin Die led the two of them to a counter. There were dozens of pill furnaces on the counter. Qin Die walked behind the counter and introduced, "These pills come in different sizes and colors. They are all first-grade pill furnaces. Which one do you like?" "First-grade pill furnaces?" Qin Feiyong frowned. Lu Hong could tell that Qin Feiyong was not satisfied and asked, "Miss Die, do you have any higher-grade pill furnaces?" Qin Die was confused. "First-grade pill furnaces can refine all first-grade pills. Isn't that enough?" "Not enough." Lu Hong shook her head. Qin Die looked at Lu Hong in shock. Could this person already refine second-grade pills? But she looked like she was only 17 or 18 years old. Pill furnaces and pills were also divided into grades. First grade to 9th grade. Bone replenishing pill, healing pill, body tempering pill, qi gathering pill, and red fire glaze pill were all first-grade pills. Of course, the same grade was also divided into different grades. For example, Healing pill and bone replenishing pill were the lowest grade pills among first grade pills. Red fire glaze pill was undoubtedly the top grade pill among first grade pills. As for the potential pill, logically speaking, it should also be a first grade pill. But in terms of the power of the potential pill, even a ninth grade pill could not compare to it. So, it was really hard to determine the grade of the potential pill. And battle chi pill, regeneration pill, prolongation pill, transformation pill, bottleneck breaking pill, and so on were second-grade pills. If a first-grade pill furnace was used to refine second-grade pills, not only would the quality be affected, but the success rate would also be lowered. It might even explode. For example, Qin Feiyang's furnace exploded when he was refining the prolongation pill. In fact, it was just one of the reasons that he lost control due to nervousness. Another reason was that the pill furnace's grade was not high enough. If it was a second-grade pill furnace or a higher-grade pill furnace, even if he lost control, the furnace might not explode. Cough. Seeing Qin Die staring at Lu Hong for a long time and unable to come back to her senses, Qin Feiyang could not help coughing. At that moment, Qin Die reacted and apologized. "I'm really sorry, please forgive me. It's okay." Lu Hong smiled faintly. "To tell you the truth, we usually auction off pill furnaces that are of the second grade and above. It seems that only one pill furnace will be auctioned today. Why don't you go to the auction house and have a look? And there will also be a supreme grade red fire glaze pill. You may need it." Qin Jie smiled. Supreme grade red fire glaze pill? Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong looked at each other with a trace of surprise in their eyes. There were supreme grade alchemists in the city? Qin Jie smiled and said, "If you two need it, I can take you to the auction house now." "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded. Qin Jie walked out from behind the counter and led the two to a door. On both sides of the door, there were two 9-star battle monarch guards. Lu Hong chuckled and said, "It seems that you may not be popular in the city." "Not necessarily. After all, supreme grade alchemists have different grades." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. It seemed that he did not take it to heart. However, there was some anticipation in his eyes. Qin Jie walked to the door and whispered a few words to the two guards. The two guards glanced at Qin Feiyang and Qin Jie, then opened the door. A dark corridor immediately appeared. "The two of you, please follow me." Qin Jie called out and walked in first. At the end of the corridor was a reception hall. Qin Jie walked through the reception hall for a while and then pushed open the door to a VIP room. She smiled and said, "Please come in." The room was not big, about 4 or 5 meters wide. The decorations were also very simple. There were only 2 chairs and a tea table. There was a transparent floor-to-ceiling window in front of them, through which they could clearly see the auction house outside. However, the huge auction house was deserted at the moment. There were only 50 or 60 people sitting on the chairs around the auction stage. Lu Hong asked, "How long until the auction starts?" Qin Jie smiled and said, "The sun has just risen. The auction will probably start in another hour. You two can have some tea to pass the time." Lu Hong nodded and said, "Then you can leave first." "Okay, I'll be in the reception hall outside. Call me if you need anything." Qin Jie smiled and walked out of the VIP room, closing the door on her way out. In less than 100 breaths, there was a commotion outside the door. "Young Master Lu, this is the treasure pavilion. You'd better calm down." It was Qin Jie's voice. "Go away." It was Lu Feng's shout. Bang! Immediately, the door of the VIP room was kicked open. Lu Feng entered the VIP room under the escort of 4 big men in black. "You think I can't find you if you hide in the treasure pavilion? Let me tell you, as long as you're in the city, no matter where you hide, it's easy for me to find you." Lu Feng sneered. Qin Jie also entered the VIP room. She walked to Qin Feiyang and Qin Jie and said apologetically, "Young master, young mistress, I'm sorry. I'll ask them to leave immediately." "It's okay." Lu Hong waved her hand and turned to look at Lu Feng. She said indifferently, "You think too highly of yourself. Do you think a playboy like you needs to hide? So what if I'm a playboy? My ancestor is the governor of the East City. My father is the head of the Lu family. I have the right to be a playboy. What about you two? You're just 2 little losers. Even if you want to be a playboy, you don't have the ability to be one." Lu Feng looked at the two with disdain. Little losers? Lu Hong was slightly taken aback. She glanced at the calm Qin Feiyong, and the corners of her mouth curled into a playful smile. A mere disciple of a family and the son of an emperor. Who was the real loser? Chapter 299. Seeing the playful smile on the corner of Lu Hong's mouth, Lu Feng's heart burned with rage, and he said sternly, "Stinking bitch, what's with that expression?" Lu Hong's expression turned cold as she said, "Clean your mouth for me, you stinky bitch who has been ridden by thousands of men. Shameless bitch. So what if this young master scolds you?" Lu Feng sneered. Slap. Lu Hong slapped Lu Feng's face with lightning speed. He was sent flying. With a wail, he hit the wall behind him and spat out blood. The group of black-robed men were stunned. Suddenly, their eyes revealed an ominous glint as they rushed towards Lu Hong. "Stop. This is not your Lu family. You can't do as you please. Don't blame me for throwing you out if you dare to cause trouble here again," Qin Jie said angrily. The group of men in black stopped and looked back at Lu Feng. Lu Feng got up from the ground and touched his burning face. He glared at Qin Feiyong and Qin Jie, his eyes spitting fire. "Let's see." He coldly threw down these words, then angrily left with a group of black-robed men. Phew! Qin Jie heaved a sigh of relief and turned to Lu Hong. "So you were the one who beat Lu Feng up last night?" Lu Hong smiled. "A good-for-nothing like him will feel uncomfortable if I don't beat him up." Qin Jie pursed her lips. "You're such a sentimental person. But you have to be careful. Lu Feng is narrow-minded and will definitely take revenge. He won't let this go." Lu Hong cupped her hands. "Thank you for your reminder." After Qin Jie left, Lu Hong walked to Qin Feiyong and whispered, "You won't blame me for hitting him without permission, right?" "Why would I blame you? If it were me, I would have hit him harder." Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. Lu Hong cracked a smile. Her pretty appearance was rather enchanting. Outside, people kept entering the auction house. An hour later, the auction hall was already packed with people. It was noisy and clamorous. The various VIP rooms were also occupied by the disciples of the various wealthy families. Boom! A loud chime of a bell exploded in the auction hall. The scene immediately quieted down. A healthy old man in white walked up to the auction stage under the escort of 10 guards. Subsequently, the 10 guards stood at the edge of the high platform and scanned the area in front of them with sharp eyes. The white-clothed old man scanned the crowd and said with a smile, "I am Yin Yuan Ming. Thank you all for coming to Zhenbao Pavilion. I hope that everyone can participate in today's auction peacefully." "Steward Yin, don't you find it tiring to say such courteous words every day? Let's get started." "That's right. Who is so blind to cause trouble in the treasure pavilion?" Someone below urged. "Of course it's tiring to say it every day, but it's necessary. It can be considered as a warning to some restless people. All right. Let's cut the crap and get off to a good start." Today's first auction item is the supreme grade red fire glaze elixir that everyone has been longing for. Yin Yuan Ming waved his hand and a jade box appeared out of thin air. After opening it, a round fiery red elixir immediately appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The starting price is 4 million. Each bid must not be less than 100,000. There is no upper limit. Begin. Yin Yuan Ming did not introduce the red fire glaze elixir in detail. He only explained the rules and the auction began. 4. 1 million. 4. 2 million. 4. 3 million. The auction hall suddenly rang out with bids. Qin Feiyong and Lu Hong looked at each other. The starting price was 4 million? One must know that in Yen City, the supreme grade red fire glaze elixir was only 4 million. This city was indeed the world of the rich. We now have 23 supreme grade red fire glaze elixir and 66 sets of red fire glaze elixir herbs. In total, there are 89 elixirs. If we auction them, we will definitely earn hundreds of millions of gold coins. Lu Hong said, "The red fire glaze elixir is meaningless to us. We can auction it." Qin Feiyong nodded. Lu Hong stood up and said, "I will arrange it now." Qin Feiyong waved his hand and said with a smile, "No hurry. Let's see the final price first. You can also raise the price to test the waters." Test the waters? Lu Hong was stunned for a moment before she said, 6 million. 5 million. Before she could finish her sentence, another gloomy voice sounded from the VIP room next door. And it was a bid of 500,000. I see. Lu Hong showed a look of understanding. The owner of the voice was Lu Feng. She thought that Lu Feng had left the treasure pavilion, but she did not expect him to be next door. It turned out that this was the purpose of testing the waters. It seemed that Qin Feiyang had already expected that Lu Feng would be entangled with them today. Sigh. Lu Hong sighed inwardly. After 2 years, she thought that she was already very smart, but compared to Qin Feiyang, she knew that she was still far behind. However, Lu Feng was too impatient. Lu Hong asked, "Do you want to play with him?" Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said, "Don't rush." It was easy to play with Lu Feng, but this way, the price would be inflated, and they would not know the true value of the supreme-grade red fire glaze elixir in the capital. Of course, they could also ask Qin Ye. But Qin Feiyang only believed what he heard and saw with his own eyes. Why did they stop after just one bid? In the VIP room next door, Lu Feng was puzzled. "Young master, they must be afraid of you." "That's right. Look at how poor they are. I know that they are not from rich families. How would they dare to fight with you?" The group of men in black smiled obsequiously. Lu Feng nodded and said, "Yes, they must be too scared to bid. I'll rest for a while. Keep an eye on them. As soon as they bid, immediately raise the price. I don't want them to get anything today." Lu Feng ordered and closed his eyes to recover. The group of men in black looked at each other, their eyes full of mockery. These two really overestimated themselves. How dare they go against the young master? Today was destined to end in tragedy. A few hundred breaths later, the supreme-grade red fire glaze elixir was sold for 11 million. Almost 3 times the price of the county of Yen. Lu Hong said in disbelief. Qin Feiyang said, "Go find Qin Ye and buy a supreme-grade elixir. Any kind will do." "Okay." Lu Hong got up and quickly walked out of the VIP room. Soon, she returned with a jade box in her hand. Qin Feiyang took the jade box and opened it. A healing elixir appeared in front of his eyes. There was a circle of elixir patterns on it. And it was very eye-catching. It was almost no different from the supreme-grade healing elixirs he refined. Qin Feiyang frowned and asked, "Did you ask who refined this?" Lu Hong said yes. According to Qin Ye, it was made by Lu Xingchen. Lu Xingchen? Qin Feiyang frowned. Why did this name sound so familiar? Lu Hong said, "Have you forgotten that Ran Wushuang contacted Lu Xingchen back in Yen City?" "So it's him." Qin Feiyang remembered. Ran Wushuang had also warned him that Lu Xingchen was not a good person and not to get too close to him. But this person was a supreme-grade elixir refiner, which was really unexpected. Lu Hong said again, "It is said that he is also a disciple of the Sanctum. His current strength is even stronger than Ran Wushuang." "The Sanctum." Qin Feiyang suddenly stood up. "What's wrong?" Lu Hong was shocked by his sudden action. Qin Feiyang asked, "Yesterday, the House Lord said that I should report to the Sanctum today?" Lu Hong nodded. "Oh my, I almost forgot about it." Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead and returned to his seat, saying, "Let Qin Ye in immediately." The Sanctum was in the central city. With his current speed, it would be dark by the time he arrived. He could not delay any longer. "Okay." Lu Hong walked to the door and opened it, saying, "Miss Ye, please come in." Qin Ye hurried in and asked, "May I know what young miss wants?" Lu Hong said, "We still have to report to the Sanctum. Can you make an exception and sell me a high-grade elixir furnace?" "Young miss is a disciple of the Sanctum?" Qin Ye was surprised. Lu Hong laughed, "Not yet." Qin Ye nodded in realization and said, "But with young miss's strength, entering the Sanctum is a sure thing. As for the elixir furnace, young miss, please wait a moment, I will ask Manager Yin." With that, Qin Ye turned and left. Not long later, she entered the auction house and walked up to the auction stage, whispering a few words into Yin Yuanming's ear. Yin Yuanming glanced at Qin Feiyang's VIP room, thought for a moment, then nodded to Qin Ye. Qin Ye immediately turned and walked down the auction stage. About 100 breaths later, she came to the VIP room and laughed. Manager Ian has agreed to sell it to you privately, but according to the auction price, the price is negotiable. Lu Hong laughed. Qin Jie waved her hand, and with a clang, an elixir furnace appeared on the ground. Qin Feiyong stood up and looked at it carefully. The elixir furnace was like an iron cauldron, with 2 ears on both sides and 3 legs at the bottom. It was made of high-quality bronze, with mountains and rivers carved on it. Qin Jie said, "This is a bronze elixir furnace, a 2nd grade. The auction price is above 20 million. How about I give you 20 million? So expensive?" Lu Hong was shocked. A 2nd grade elixir furnace was 20 million? Qin Jie laughed. "Young miss, don't worry, our precious treasure pavilion has a clear price. We will not take advantage of you just because you are going to report to the sanctum." "All right, I will go with you to settle the bill," Lu Hong said helplessly. Qin Feiyong said, "We will also buy an image crystal and a few teleportation doors." Lu Hong nodded and followed Qin Jie to the reception hall. Qin Feiyong also brought the bronze elixir furnace into the ancient castle to refine the potential elixir. Fatso sorted out the potential elixir ingredients for him. There were a total of 12 sets. Qin Feiyong first familiarized himself with the new elixir furnace. Then, in less than 200 breaths, all the elixirs were refined. Qin Feiyong used 2 jade boxes to store 6 elixirs. One of the jade boxes was placed on the altar, while the other jade box was taken out by him. After waiting for a while, Lu Hong finally returned and could not help but complain. The cost of living here was ridiculously high. The price of the image crystal was twice that of Yen City, 10 million each. The teleportation door was even more exaggerated, 100 million each. 100 million? Chapter 300. When he was in the capital, he had never traveled far away. Plus, there was a fixed portal. So, he didn't know much about the price of the portal. When he heard the astronomical figure, his jaw almost dropped. 100 million for one. That was ridiculously expensive. Qin Feiyong asked, "How many did you buy?" "With the gold coins we have now, we can only buy 200 or so. How many more can I buy?" Lu Hong smiled bitterly. She only bought 5 in Yen Cheng. This thing was truly not something that ordinary people could afford to consume. The most important thing was that the portal was a one-time consumable. Once it was opened, it was equivalent to 100 million gold coins gone. Qin Feiyong said, "5 is enough. Go to the Sea of Despair right away and give this jade box to the 3 seahorses. Ask them to bring it to the princess." Lu Hong took the jade box suspiciously. She opened it and found that there were 6 potential elixirs. Qin Feiyong said with a smile, "Go and come back quickly." "Okay." Lu Hong nodded. She took out a portal and opened it quickly. 100 million gold coins gone. She sighed deeply and walked in. Qin Feiyong also felt the pinch. Next, the Supreme Grade Bliss Elixir. The starting price is 500,000. Each increment must be no less than 10,000. Yin Yuanming's voice sounded. "Bliss Elixir?" Qin Feiyong was slightly stunned. He pursed his lips and said without hesitation, 1 million. "What?" He raised the price by 500,000 at once. "Is this person crazy?" Judging from his voice, he is quite young. How can he have kidney deficiency? There was an uproar in the auction room. Kidney deficiency? Qin Feiyong's face twitched. Although he was already 17 years old, he had never touched a woman. How could he have kidney deficiency? These people were really imaginative. "Young master, he is bidding." In the VIP room next door, the group of men in black shuddered and hurriedly woke Lu Feng up. Lu Feng rubbed his eyes and asked, "What is being auctioned now?" "Bliss Elixir." One of the men said. "Bliss Pill?" Lu Feng was stunned, then laughed loudly and said, "I really didn't expect that he's actually a soft-footed shrimp." The floor-to-ceiling windows were not soundproof. When everyone heard that, they immediately burst into laughter. Qin Feiyong coughed and said with a faint smile, "Even if I'm a soft-footed shrimp, I'm still better than some people who don't even have shrimp, right?" Everyone was stunned for a moment before they burst into laughter. Lu Feng lowered his head and looked at his crotch. His face was filled with hostility as he shouted, "This young master bids 2 million. Qin Feiyong chuckled and said, "You don't even have that." What do you need the ecstasy pill for? 5 million. Lu Feng gritted his teeth and roared. This young master is willing, 10 million. Shwa. At this moment, Lu Hong appeared out of nowhere and said, it's done. The 3 seahorses have also returned. Qin Feiyong nodded and looked at the auction house. He sighed and said, alas, instead of fighting with me, why don't you hurry up and find a way to save your little bird? 50 million. Bastard. This young master has nothing but money. Today, I'll crush you with money. 100 million. Lu Feng roared hysterically. Well, your family is too rich. I can't afford it. I admit defeat. I won't accompany you. See you next time. Qin Feiyong said regretfully. Then he got up and strode out of the VIP room with Lu Hong. Lu Hong said suspiciously, what are you and Lu Feng fighting for? 100 million? Bliss elixir. Qin Feiyong said with a smile. Lu Hong was stunned. Then she couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. There was dead silence in the auction house. No one had expected that a supreme-grade bliss elixir would be sold for 100 million gold coins. Yin Yuan Ming, who was on the auction stage, was also stunned. After he came back to his senses, he turned to look at the empty VIP room. There was a strange glow in his old eyes. Only now did he realize that everyone had underestimated that young man. Although the bidding process for the bliss elixir was very short, every word that this man said hit Lu Feng's weak point. And he made Lu Feng lose his mind step by step. In other words, this was a trap. Lu Feng was like a fool. He was led by the nose by this man and fell into the trap step by step. And he fell deeper and deeper. This kind of ability to plan and control the whole situation was really unprecedented. What was this man's background? When did such a scheming young man appear in the city? Yin Yuan Ming looked at Lu Feng's VIP room again. He saw that Lu Feng was laughing complacently inside. He had been tricked. Not only did he not realize it, but he was also complacent. Why was there such a huge gap between them? Yin Yuan Ming shook his head and asked, young master Lu Feng has bid 100 million gold coins. Is there anyone else who wants to raise the price? Only an idiot would raise the price. Yin Yuan Ming said with a smile. Well, congratulations to young master Lu Feng for getting the supreme-grade bliss elixir. Smack! At that moment, loud clapping sounds could be heard in the auction house. On the surface, they seemed to be cheering for Lu Feng, but in fact, there was a sense of sarcasm. The group of men in black glanced at the expressions of the people below, and their eyes gradually darkened. One of them turned to look at Lu Feng and said in a deep voice, young master, we seem to have been tricked. Tricked? Lu Feng was happy. Hearing this, he frowned slightly. The next moment, he stood up suddenly and his face became extremely ferocious. Bastards, I'll fight you to the death. Let's go and get even with them. With a loud roar, he stormed out of the VIP room with a group of lackeys. Immediately, he saw Qin Feiyong and Qin Jie about to leave through the door. Lu Feng shouted, stop right there. Qin Jie stood in front of Lu Feng and said with a smile, young master Lu, wait a moment. You can only leave after the bill is settled. Will I go back on my words? Get lost. Lu Feng shouted. Qin Jie's face turned cold as she shouted coldly, men, you can't stop young master Lu. If you don't pay the bill, don't even think about leaving today. 10 guards of the 9-star War King immediately ran over and surrounded Lu Feng and his group. Idiot. Qin Feiyong and Lu Hong turned around and looked, the corners of their mouths pursed into a mocking smile. Then, under Lu Feng's angry gaze, they walked out of the door and walked down the stairs to the first floor. Lu Hong shook her head and said, I've seen hedonistic disciples, but I've never seen such a hedonistic person. You'll get used to it when you see more. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. Lu Hong nodded and asked, now, are we going directly to the sacred palace or are we going to find Wolf King? Of course we're going to find Wolf King. We can't leave it alone in the East City. Qin Feiyong was furious again. Couldn't this wolf cub make people less worried? At the same time, a wolf proudly walked out of the Drunken Dream Inn, then walked towards the precious treasure pavilion in large strides. He kept cursing in his heart. Little Qin Zi, little Hong. You two bastards didn't wait for me. You're too much. Who else could it be but Wolf King? But at this moment, It was covered in dust and looked quite embarrassed. At the same time, hundreds of meters behind Wolf King, there was an intersection. A 15 or 16-year-old girl in white was looking around, with a dozen men in black, as if looking for something. The girl in white turned and saw Wolf King in front of her. She shouted angrily, "Pervert, stop right there." Damn, didn't I get rid of them? How did they find me again? Wolf King hurriedly ran away. The girl in white also chased after him with the group of men in black. Quick, look, it's the ruffian wolf that peeped at Miss Lu taking a bath. It's running on its feet like a human. Haha, it's so funny. The pedestrians on the street couldn't help laughing when they saw Wolf King's funny appearance. Stop laughing. Brother Xueqi took advantage of your absence to peep at your wife taking a bath. When Wolf King passed by a middle-aged man, he grinned at the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man's face fell in an instant. He scolded, "Ruffian wolf, try it if you dare." "Forget it. I'm very picky. Looking at your face, I don't think your wife is that beautiful." The Wolf King chuckled. The middle-aged man was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Soon, Wolf King rushed to the gate of the treasure pavilion. But just as he was about to rush in, "Stop. Fierce beasts are forbidden in the treasure pavilion." The two guards guarding the door suddenly stopped in front of him. "Why?" Wolf King stared at them. The one on the left said, "This is the rule." Wolf King said, "I have money." The guard on the right said, "You can't go in even if you have money." Just at this time, two young men in luxurious clothes passed by him, looked at him curiously, and strode into the treasure pavilion. And on their shoulders, there was a palm-sized small beast. Wolf King pointed at the two people and wondered, why can they bring fierce beasts in? The two young men in luxurious clothes were slightly stunned. They couldn't help but stop and turn to look at Wolf King with playful eyes. The two of them were 7 feet tall and looked dignified. They were about 23 or 24 years old. The temperament they exuded was quite extraordinary. "Because you're too shameless. You even dare to peep at Miss Lu. Who dares to let you in? You'd better run. Miss Lu has already caught up. If you're caught by her, with her personality, I'm afraid she'll throw you into a fryer." The two of them laughed heartily and entered the treasure pavilion without looking back. Wolf King turned his head and his pupils shrank. 30 to 40 meters away, the girl in white shouted, "Rogue wolf, if you still dare to run, I'll skin you." "Damn you! Although I'm very handsome, you don't have to be so shameless, right? Moreover, I'm really not interested in you human women. Can you just let me go?" Wolf King was about to cry. The faces of the people present couldn't help but twitch, including the two guards. They were determined not to let this rogue wolf enter the treasure pavilion. He was too shameless. "Pervert, I'll fight you to the death." The girl in white clenched her fists and gritted her teeth as she rushed towards Wolf King. "Stop chasing. I won't marry you even if you catch up." "No, I won't marry you either." "Strange. Are all the human girls in the city so bold? I can't stand it. Retreat." Chapter 301. Asshole, have you had enough? At this moment, an angry roar exploded in the treasure pavilion. Qin Feiyong was like an enraged lion. He rushed out of the treasure pavilion like lightning and fiercely kicked the Wolf King's butt. "Oh!" Wolf King howled. Like a kite with a broken string, it flew into the air and drew an elegant trajectory. Finally, with a bang, its head was down and its butt was up. It smashed the ground of the street and its whole head was stuck in the ground. Everyone was stunned. Who was so bold to kick this ruffian wolf? Was he not afraid of being targeted by it and the whole family of women would suffer? The girl in white and the group of men in black also looked at Qin Feiyong in a daze. What was going on? The enemy of the pervert? Haha, you damn pervert, how many people have you offended? Waha, you really deserve it. The girl in white put her hands on her waist and laughed. A man in black whispered, "Miss in public, pay attention to your image." Ahem. The girl in white coughed and nodded. "Yes, I have to be more reserved." She put her hands behind her back and skipped over to Qin Feiyong. She praised him in a mischievous manner. "You did very well. Men, reward him with a few gold coins." A group of men in black followed. One of them took out 5 gold coins and threw it to Qin Feiyong, saying, "Hurry up and thank the miss for her reward." Qin Feiyong caught the 5 gold coins and was a little stunned. Is it the first time you've seen so many gold coins? Oh, don't be polite. Quickly accept it. Who told this miss to be in a good mood now? The girl in white waved her hand generously. Ah! Qin Feiyong was stunned. 5 gold coins? How could she have the nerve to take it out? How could she have the nerve to say such generous words? And let him thank her? Did she think he was a beggar? Lu Hong, who was standing behind Qin Feiyong, was also stunned. Looking at this girl's appearance, she should be 15 or 16 years old. How could she still be so silly and cute? So naive? Someone in the crowd whispered, if I remember correctly, they seem to be in cahoots with Ruffian Wolf. I saw it myself last night. Shh. Someone at the side immediately made a shushing gesture. What he meant was, don't meddle in other people's business. Miss Lu, is it? After Qin Feiyong came back to his senses, he weighed the gold coins in his hand and raised his head to look at Miss Lu. He smiled and said, you should keep these gold coins for yourself. He stuffed the 5 gold coins back into the white-clothed girl's hand. The white-clothed girl was stunned. Qin Feiyong ignored her and pointed to the group of black-clothed men behind the girl. He said to Lu Hong, these big brothers have been chasing us for so long. They must be tired. Give them some money for wine. All right. Lu Hong nodded with a smile. With a gentle wave of her jade-like hand, a pile of glittering gold coins appeared in the air a dozen meters above them. Like a golden rain, they poured down in torrents. Wow, so many gold coins. It's at least a few 100,000. Now that's called generous. Compared to them, Miss Lu is so stingy. The crowd suddenly became noisy. Miss Lu and the black-clothed men also raised their heads to look at the falling gold coins. Every gold coin that landed on their bodies was like an invisible slap to their faces. They had no dignity left. They felt that their previous behavior was like a clown's. Boom! With a loud noise, Wolf King's 2 claws hit the ground. Dust and smoke filled the air. A huge pit suddenly appeared. He climbed out of the pit in a sorry state and roared, who is plotting against me? Are you tired of living? But when he rushed out of the dust and saw Qin Feiyong, his pupils suddenly shrank. I'm tired of living. Do you have the ability to touch me? Qin Feiyong stared at him coldly. That, cough, this is a misunderstanding. Yes, it's a misunderstanding. Wolf King smiled embarrassedly. Lu Hong rolled her eyes and scolded. You're really good at fooling around. Do you know how worried we were? Wolf King said, it's like this. I was bored last night, so I went out for a stroll. I definitely didn't cause any trouble. Qin Feiyong angrily stared, pointed at the girl in white and shouted, if you didn't cause any trouble, then what's wrong with her? That. Wolf King stammered. A pair of dark eyes looked around stealthily, as if preparing to escape. You two don't run. At this moment, another group of black-clothed men fiercely rushed out of the treasure pavilion. Yes, miss. When the group of black-clothed men came out and saw the girl in white, they couldn't help but be stunned. They bowed together and said, Greetings, Miss Tingting. Lu Tingting said, Why are you here? Where's that boneless idiot Lu Feng? Boneless idiot? Qin Feiyong's face twitched. He really didn't know whether Lu Tingting was capricious or not. Or was she brainless? And those black-clothed men also had bitter smiles on their faces. One of them pointed at Qin Feiyong and said angrily, Young Master Lu Feng was tricked by that guy. He's now detained in the treasure pavilion. Tricked? Lu Tingting was stunned and asked how. That black-clothed man said, that guy provoked young Master Lu Feng into bidding for a supreme-grade bliss elixir with 100 million gold coins. What? Does he have too much money to burn? 100 million gold coins to buy a bliss elixir. What a prodigal. If he were my son, I'd definitely strangle him to death. The surrounding people discussed animatedly, their faces full of disdain and regret. The white-clothed girl was also dumbfounded. When she came back to her senses, she immediately said angrily, that idiot doesn't even have a bird. Why would he want a bliss elixir? What an idiot. Qin Feiyong, Wolf King, and Lu Hong looked at each other and couldn't help but wonder if Lu Tingting and Lu Feng were biological siblings. Ahem. Miss, watch your words. A black-clothed man behind Lu Tingting lowered his head and whispered when he saw the strange looks of the surrounding people. That's 100 million gold coins. If he keeps doing this, the Lu clan will be squandered away sooner or later. Back then when he was just born, father should have just strangled him to death. I've never seen such a retarded person. He's a disgrace to the Lu clan. Lu Tingting said angrily. Miss Tingting, this isn't young Master Lu Feng's fault. It's that woman who broke young Master Lu Feng's manhood. The two black-clothed men smiled bitterly. Ah! Lu Tingting looked at Lu Hong in surprise. Lu Hong nodded and smiled at her. They all thought that Lu Tingting would definitely fly into a rage and avenge Lu Feng. But the result was not. She actually gave Lu Hong a thumbs up and said, Sister, you're really good, but you're too gentle. You should have killed him directly. Lu Hong was stunned. Qin Feiyong was also dumbfounded and his jaw almost dropped. This Lu Tingting and Lu Feng were definitely not biological siblings from the same mother. But even if he's useless, he's still my family, so, speaking of this. Lu Tingting's eyes suddenly froze. She waved her slender arm and shouted, Take them down for me. Two groups of black-clothed men immediately pounced on the two people and the wolf. Qin Feiyong said lightly, There are rules in the city that forbid fighting. Do you dare to give it a try? The group of black-clothed men stopped in unison, cold sweat dripping down their backs. In a moment of anger, they actually forgot this point. Lu Tingting could not help but frown. Swoosh! At this moment, a black-clothed old man landed in front of everyone like a bolt of lightning. Greetings, Steward Lu. The group of black-clothed men bowed and saluted. Steward Lu nodded and looked at Lu Tingting helplessly. Miss, you're precious. How can you run around like this? It's none of your business. Go away. Lu Tingting glared at him unhappily. Steward Lu felt bitter in his heart. This little master was really hard to serve. Suddenly, a cold light flashed in his eyes. He looked up at Qin Feiyong and Wolf King and said, The Patriarch invites the three of you to the Lu family as guests. Guests? Qin Feiyong sneered secretly. Once they entered the Lu family's gate, they could forget about coming out alive. Sorry, we're not free now. Besides, we're just nobodies. We really don't dare to disturb the Lu family. Please thank the Patriarch for his kindness on my behalf. Goodbye. Qin Feiyong cupped his hands and said with a smile. Then he turned and left with Lu Hong and Wolf King. I'm afraid it's not up to you whether you want to go or not. Steward Lu smiled hoarsely and waved his hand. Stop them. A group of black-clothed men rushed up and surrounded the two people and the wolf. What's wrong? Steward Lu, are you going to bully us? Qin Feiyong glanced at the black-clothed men in front of him and said without turning his head. Am I? I'm very sincere in inviting you to be guests. So don't misunderstand. Keep an eye on them. I'll go and bring young Master Lu Feng out. Steward Lu said to the black-clothed men and turned to walk toward the treasure pavilion. Little Qin Zi, what should we do? Wolf King said telepathically. Aren't you the one who did this? Qin Feiyong glared at it and said in a low voice. You can't go to the Lu clan. Lu Hong, act according to the situation. Lu Hong nodded subtly. She also knew that the Lu clan would not dare to do anything to them in front of so many people. However, once they entered the Lu clan, they would be in big trouble. Phew! Qin Feiyong took a deep breath and suddenly looked up at the sky. He shouted, Look, the Patriarch is here. Patriarch! Everyone on the street was shocked and hurriedly looked up. Lu Tingting and the black-clothed men did the same. However, they did not see anyone. At the same time, Lu Hong opened a teleportation door, and the two of them and the wolf rushed in like lightning. Oh no! We've been fooled. Stop them. Lu Tingting was the first to react and hurriedly shouted. However, it was too late. When the black-clothed men rushed in, the portal had already disappeared. What a cunning person. However, it's still too early for him to escape from my grasp. Lu Tingting smiled coldly and shouted, Let's go. Miss Tingting, aren't we going to wait for young Master Lu Feng? A black-clothed man hurriedly asked. I feel like vomiting when I see that idiot. Lu Tingting snorted and took the lead to leave. The black-clothed men who came with her hurriedly followed her. Chapter 302. Where are they? A moment later. Steward Lu led Lu Feng out and found that the two men and the wolf were gone. His face was full of surprise. A black-clothed man said timidly, "They used the portal to escape." "Useless trash." Lu Feng was furious. He went up and slapped the black-clothed man's face. The black-clothed men felt wronged. The two men and the wolf were cunning and had the portal. How could they stop them? This matter is not urgent. As long as they are still in the city, they can't escape. However, they even have the portal, which shows that their identity is not simple. Before dealing with them, I'm afraid we have to investigate their identity. After Steward Lu finished, he looked at Lu Feng and said, "Young Master Lu Feng, the patriarch is very angry. You have to be mentally prepared." Lu Feng's heart sank. His hatred for Qin Feiyang and the others grew stronger. Steward Lu waved his hand and left with Lu Feng and the group of black-clothed men. As soon as they left, the street in front of the treasure pavilion was noisy. Not only did they kick Lu Feng's little bird, but they also peeped at the miss of the Lu family bathing. Why don't they go to heaven? Do you know their names? I don't know. I don't know either. I've never seen them before. This is interesting. They look young, but their strength is ridiculously strong. There should be someone behind them. In front of the patriarch's mansion. Swoosh. Two men and a wolf appeared out of thin air. The four guards at the door were shocked. When they saw that it was Qin Feiyang and the others, they were relieved. But then, they felt that it was inconceivable. They were teleported here. As expected of the Mrs. Friend, rich and overbearing. Qin Feiyang smiled at the four guards, then lowered his head to look at Wolf King. He was about to scold him. However, at this time, the image crystal was abnormal. Qin Feiyang took it out. Battle chi surged, and a peerless beauty quickly condensed. It was Ran Wushuang. But at this moment, her face was full of anger. She looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "What are you doing? Didn't I tell you to go to the temple? Look at the situation now." Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Sister, don't be angry. There was a small accident. I will go to the Holy Palace immediately." "Sis?" The four guards looked at each other, their eyes filled with shock. They thought that the two of them and the wolf could only be friends with Miss Wushuang. But who would have thought that their relationship would be so good? Immediately. There was a hint of respect in their eyes. "Then go quickly. By the way, tell the four guards not to reveal our relationship. One last thing, don't use my grandfather's name to swindle others. Especially Fatso and the white-eyed wolf. Tell them to behave. If my grandfather finds out, the consequences will be dire." Ran Wushuang said. "I understand." Qin Feiyang nodded. "How worrisome." Ran Wushuang glared at him snappily, and the shadow quickly dissipated. Qin Feiyang put away the image crystal, stared at Wolf King angrily, and said, "Did you hear that? Don't act recklessly again." The Wolf King smiled awkwardly. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at it and raised his head to look at the four guards. "Little brother, don't worry, we will keep our mouths shut. Yes, please take care of us in the future." Without waiting for Qin Feiyang to speak, the four of them smiled and flattered him. "Thank you, big brothers." Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and asked, "May I ask how to get to the Holy Palace?" "Turn around and walk straight ahead. Soon you will see a crossroads. Turn left. Walk for a few thousand meters and then turn right. Then walk straight for a while and you will see the Holy Palace." One of the guards said, "Thank you." Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and thanked him, and then left quickly with Lu Hong and Wolf King. "It seems that your cheap sister still doesn't know what we did in the East City." After leaving the mansion, Lu Hong looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled. Qin Feiyang said, "The two cities are too far away, the news won't reach here so quickly. But when Ran Wushuang knows, he will definitely scold him." He looked down at Wolf King and frowned. "Why did you go to the Lu family last night?" "I just wanted to see how powerful the Lu family is." "Wait, I finally sneaked into the Lu family, and then I bumped into Lu Tingting taking a bath. If I didn't escape quickly, I would have fallen into her hands." "Damn it, I'm so unlucky," Wolf King said angrily. "Impressive, you can escape from the Lu family." Lu Hong gave him a thumbs up. "Are you kidding me? I'm the peerless wolf god. How can those idiots catch me?" Wolf King said proudly again. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at his arrogant look. "Peerless wolf god? This guy kept mentioning these words. Could it be that there was really such a thing? Soon, a stone staircase entered Qin Feiyang's sight. The stone staircase was very wide, about 5 to 6 meters tall, and also very tall. Qin Feiyang looked at it, and estimated that there were at least 1,000 steps. There were hundreds of people on the stone staircase. The youngest was about 14 or 15 years old, and the oldest was about 30 years old. They were walking towards the top step by step, and seemed to be struggling. And at the top, there was a stone tablet that was more than 10 meters tall. On the stone tablet, there were 2 large golden words engraved on it. Sacred Palace. Like iron hooks and silver strokes, it was vigorous and powerful, and emitted a shocking aura. Lu Hong looked at the stone tablet, then looked at the stone staircase, and said doubtfully, "Is this stone staircase the same as the one in the Pill Palace, and is a test for everyone?" Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Let's go and ask." Below the stone staircase, there were 2 groups of people gathered. They were all very young, and different from the others. Their aura was far superior to those on the stone staircase. They were also wearing the same clothes. Only the color was different. The group on the left was wearing white long clothes. The group on the right was wearing black long clothes. But there was a small sword embroidered on their chest. The small sword was the symbol of the sacred palace. In other words, these 2 groups of people were disciples of the sacred palace. Someone else is here. There's another wolf? When 2 people and a wolf walked over, the 2 groups of people also noticed them, and their expressions were a little surprised. When they reached the bottom of the stone staircase, Qin Feiyang glanced at the 2 groups of people. He was surprised to find that there was a table in the middle of the 2 groups of people. There was a pile of gold coins on the table. What's the meaning of this? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. At this time, Lu Hong asked, "Excuse me, what is the meaning of this stone staircase?" Not only is she beautiful, but her voice is also nice. The eyes of a young man in white lit up, and he smiled and said, "Beautiful lady, is this your first time in the sacred palace?" Lu Hong nodded. "Then I'll have to introduce him to you. This stone staircase has a total of 1,000 steps. On the stone staircase there is a pressure, and the higher you go the stronger the pressure. Only those who reach the top are considered to have successfully completed the test." The young man in white came in front of Lu Hong, and said with a smile, with a hint of flattery, "It's that simple?" Lu Hong was surprised. Simple? The 2 groups of people were stunned, and suddenly burst into laughter. "Beautiful lady, don't look at it on the surface. It's actually not simple at all. Do you see the hundreds of people up there? At most only a dozen people can reach the top. Even if they reach the top, they may not be able to enter the sacred palace. Because this stone staircase is only the first test, the real test is still to come. I can tell you very responsibly that in the end, there will not be more than 3 people who can become disciples of the sacred palace." The young man in white laughed. "Stop talking nonsense. Quickly place your bets. I bet that they can last for at most an hour on the stone staircase, 50 gold coins. Then I bet that they can last for less than an hour, 30 gold coins. You guys are too boring, betting for such a long time. I bet that they can't last for more than 100 breaths, 100 gold coins." The 2 groups of people took out their gold coins, and chattered noisily. "So it's gambling here." Qin Feiyang suddenly understood. "Do you guys want to bet too? As long as you can reach the top within 100 breaths, the gold coins on the 2 gambling tables will be yours." The 2 groups of people began to instigate. Lu Hong glanced at the 2 gambling tables, and shook her head. Too little, not interested. In fact, it was not little. The 2 gambling tables added together should be tens of thousands of gold coins. But in the eyes of Qin Feiyang and the others, tens of thousands of gold coins were not even pocket money. This is little? The 2 groups of people were stunned. Could it be that these 2 people and 1 wolf were rich people? "Are you looking down on us? I'll bet all my gold coins." A young man in black took out a Xueqi bag and slammed it on the table. "I'll bet all my gold coins too." "Me too." The 2 groups of people took out their Xueqi bags and threw them on the table, looking at Qin Feiyang and the others provocatively. Lu Hong walked up and looked at them one by one, then turned to Qin Feiyang and smiled. "There's only a little more than 5 million in total." Qin Feiyang said, "Then let's bet. I don't have any pocket money in my pocket anyway. It's a waste not to take it." What a big tone. "Kid, don't be arrogant, you'll cry later." The two groups of people were indignant. Lu Hong waved her hand, and a large pile of gold coins appeared, piling up on the ground like a small mountain. Damn, so many! Could she be the legendary Miss Perfect? The two groups of people were stunned. When they looked at Lu Hong again, their eyes were different. Lu Hong said with a smile, "I don't know how many there are here, but it's definitely not less than yours." After saying that, she turned around and walked to Qin Feiyang's side. At that moment, the eyes of those people changed again. They seemed to regard Qin Feiyang as a rival in love. "Hey, little Hongzi. Maybe one of them is your future Mr. Right," Wolf King said with a sly smile. "Just them?" Lu Hong shook her head with a trace of cold arrogance. "Let's go." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and took the lead to step on the stairs. Sure enough, there was a pressure shrouding them. But it could be completely ignored. This kind of pressure, for a brother who has opened the door of potential, is simply child's play. Wolf King disdained it, took a step forward, and ran toward the top. Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong looked at each other and smiled, and quickly chased after Wolf King. Damn! What's going on? They actually ran? The two groups of people below were dumbfounded on the spot. Since the establishment of the Holy Temple, such a situation had never happened. The hundreds of people who were trying their best to climb up were also dumbfounded. Wasn't this too abnormal? Could it be that they couldn't feel the pressure? 10 breaths had just passed. 2 people and 1 wolf reached the top, and the whole process was extremely easy without the slightest pause. Abnormal. Chapter 303. Wolf King said disdainfully. She came up without any effort. I thought it would be difficult. Fortunately, this sentence was said through telepathy. Only Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong heard it. Otherwise, the hundreds of people who were trying their best to climb would vomit blood. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "Go down and collect the gold coins." Lu Hong nodded, turned into a stream of light, and quickly landed at the bottom of the stone stairs. After collecting the gold coins on the ground, she collected the gold coins on the 2 gambling tables one by one. Seeing Lu Hong turn around and walk up, the white-clothed young man hurriedly said, "Miss, wait. What's the matter?" Lu Hong furrowed her brows. The white-clothed young man bowed and smiled like a gentleman. "May I ask how I should address you?" "Boring," Lu Hong said indifferently. Then, she walked towards the peak without looking back. "Zheng Chuan, she doesn't like you at all. Look at the way she looks at you. It's like she's treating you like a fly. Have you heard of a saying, a toad wants to eat swan meat? Dream on." The others couldn't help but make fun of the white-clothed young man. "Humph, let me tell you, I'm really going to eat this swan." Zhang Chuan sneered. Lu Hong reached the top and stood next to Qin Feiyang, frowning. "These people are really annoying." Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "Isn't it good that someone likes you?" "That depends on who it is." Lu Hong smiled disdainfully. Qin Feiyang asked curiously, "Then tell me, who likes you and won't refuse?" "This." Lu Hong hesitated and shook her head. "This is personal information. I can't tell you." Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. He looked forward. In front of him was a square. It was hundreds of feet wide, but there was no one. It seemed a little calm. Opposite the square, there was a huge palace. It was dark all over and looked like it had been there for a long time. On the gate, there were 4 words. Reception Hall. Behind the reception hall stood countless tall and ancient palaces. They were scattered like stars in the sky, grand and magnificent. Qin Feiyang said, "Let's go." 2 people and 1 wolf strode into the reception hall. In such a large hall, there were only 2 people. One of them was dressed in white, while the other was dressed in black. Both of them were quite old. However, his face was glowing and full of energy. Furthermore, their facial features were very similar, giving off the feeling that they were a pair of brothers. "Someone's finally here. Come here quickly." When the 2 old men saw Qin Feiyang and the others, they immediately stopped what they were doing and waved at them. 2 people and 1 wolf walked over. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and said, "Greetings, seniors." The old man in black sized them up and said with a smile, "Are you guys together?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. "All right, you guys can enter the next stage together. Do you see those 2 doors?" The black-clothed old man pointed to a spot to the side. The two people and one wolf looked over. Two pitch-black stone doors came into sight. The two stone doors were more than 10 meters away from each other. The black-clothed old man said, "Now, you guys can enter from the stone door on the right. As long as you can walk out from the stone door on the left within 2 hours, you will pass the second stage." 2 hours? The two people and one wolf looked at each other. With a belly full of suspicion, they walked towards the stone door on the right. What kind of test required 2 hours? Lu Hong whispered, "Be careful, there might be something terrifying inside." Qin Feiyang nodded. He came to the stone door and pushed it hard. Accompanied by a rumbling sound, the stone door slowly opened. It turned out to be a passage that was more than 10 meters long. However, to their astonishment, there was nothing in the tunnel. There was nothing at all. The more it was like this, the more they didn't dare to be careless. The two people and one wolf entered the passage one after another. The white-clothed old man waved his hand, and with a bang the stone door closed. In the passage, it was extremely dark. There was only a fist-sized moonstone that emitted a faint light. What's the meaning of this? Wolf King looked ahead suspiciously. At the end of the passage, there was also a stone door. That was the exit. Lu Hong said suspiciously, "Isn't it easy to walk through a passage that is more than 10 meters long? Why do we need 2 hours? Don't be long-winded, let's go." Wolf King disdained and walked towards the opposite side. Whoosh! But just as he took a step, sharp arrows suddenly shot out from the walls on both sides. They were densely packed and pierced to the bone. Damn, murder? Wolf King was shocked and hurriedly retreated. Lu Hong shook her head and said, "It's not murder. Although there are a lot of arrows, their speed is not fast." She was confident that she could easily dodge them. Qin Feiyang glanced at the walls on both sides and said in realization, "I know, this passage tests speed." Lu Hong said, "You mean if we dodge the arrows and reach the other side, we will pass?" Qin Feiyang nodded. Lu Hong said in surprise, "Isn't that too easy?" "Easy." Qin Feiyang stared blankly for a moment before he forced a smile and said, "Have you forgotten about our cultivation?" Cultivation? Lu Hong thought carefully and could not help but shake her head and laugh. The test here was only for martial masters and martial grandmasters. But they were battle kings now, so such a test was naturally useless. "Let's go." Qin Feiyang waved his hand and his feet kept flashing, dodging the rain of arrows shooting from both sides. In less than 3 breaths, they reached the other side. Lu Hong and Wolf King followed closely behind. "It's so easy again. How boring." The Wolf King shook its head, looking like it was lonely at the top, which made Qin Feiyang and the other man roll their eyes. Qin Feiyang reached out and pushed the door. Lu Hong suddenly said, "Wait, the mansion master said that we should keep a low profile. If we go out like this, we will definitely cause a commotion. I like to keep a high profile." Wolf King waved his paw and directly shook the stone door open. He walked out proudly. This, what do you think he's saying? He won't change even if he dies." Lu Hong said angrily. "Forget it. We were already very high profile at the stone stairs just now. It's too late to keep a low profile now." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. The corners of Lu Hong's mouth could not help but purse into a bitter smile. They're out so soon? Seeing the two people and the wolf appear, the two old men stood up in unison. Their old faces were full of disbelief. Wolf King said proudly, "What's so bad about that test? Let's start the next one." The two old men looked at each other with a trace of doubt in their eyes. Was there a problem with the mechanism inside? "I'll go take a look." The old man in black strode into the passage and was stunned when he saw the arrows all over the ground. There was no problem. How strange. How could something like this happen? After the old man in black returned, he looked at the two people and the wolf and said, "Report your names, age and cultivation." Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and said, "Disciple Qin Feiyang, 17 years old, 2-star battle king." Lu Hong said, "Disciple Lu Hong, 18 years old, 1-star battle king." What? The two old men's eyes widened as they looked at the two people in surprise. A 17-year-old 2-star battle king? An 18-year-old 1-star battle king? Wasn't this a bit too ridiculous? The white-robed old man's eyes lit up as he urged, "Release your auras." Qin Feiyong and the wolf looked at each other with a trace of helplessness in their eyes. Being too talented was also a troublesome thing. Two auras appeared at the same time. That's right. They've really stepped into the Battle King realm. The two old men were shocked. No wonder they could pass the test so quickly. To them, these tests were just child's play. Wolf King glanced at Qin Feiyong and the wolf, then looked at the two old men and said with dissatisfaction, Hey, do you think I don't exist? The two old men were startled. The old man in black seemed to be very happy and said with a smile, Then tell us. I've lived for more than 10 years, and now I'm barely a 3-star Battle King. Wolf King looked at them lazily and said, but his expression was one of exultation and pride. 3-star Battle King. The two old men looked at each other. They couldn't tell that this wolf cub was also a monster. Haha. I didn't expect that 3 good seedlings would come this time. The old man in black laughed out loud. You're so proud. The old man in white rolled his eyes and looked a bit unhappy. Qin Feiyong looked at the two of them suspiciously. Why was there such a big difference in their reactions? He didn't think too much about it and cupped his hands. Seniors, what's the next test? Was there a need to take the test? The two old men smiled bitterly. There's no need to take the test. From now on, you are disciples of the temple. The old man in black said and took out 2 tokens. His fingertips moved, and a name quickly appeared on the back of the 2 tokens. They were the names of Qin Feiyong and Lu Hong. The old man in black handed the tokens to the two of them and said with a smile, This is your identity token, you must not lose it. Thank you, senior. Qin Feiyong and the wolf cupped their hands and thanked him. Don't call me senior. I'm Xueqi, and the one beside me is Zhou Dong. We're brothers, and we're both deacon elders of the temple. The old man in black smiled. We're indeed brothers. Qin Feiyong muttered. Greetings, elders. The two of them cupped their hands and bowed again. Xueqi was full of smiles. The white-haired old man, Zhou Dong, had a sad look on his face. The more Qin Feiyong looked, the more puzzled he became. At this time, Wolf King suddenly said, Wait, old man, where's my identity token? What does a beast like you need an identity token for? Xueqi frowned. Wolf King said angrily, Can't a beast take it? Are you looking down on beasts? Xueqi was stunned. Why was this wolf cub so difficult to deal with? But the temple didn't seem to have a precedent of accepting a beast as a disciple. Wolf King said, I don't care, if you don't give me the identity token, I'll stay here and not leave. Threatening him? Xueqi looked at Qin Feiyong and the other man and asked, Is this your battle pet? Wolf King suddenly said with contempt, Old man, what's wrong with your eyes? Can't you see that I'm their big brother? Qin Feiyong's face darkened. Xueqi's forehead also had a row of black lines, and he said angrily, If it weren't for your talent, this old man would definitely beat you up. As he spoke, he took out a blank token and said, What's your name? Lord Wolf. Wolf King blurted out without hesitation. Xueqi's face twitched, and he directly threw the token to Wolf King, saying, Take it and carve your name. Wolf King caught the token, and said discontentedly, What's with your attitude? Brother Xiaoxin will complain to you. Complain? Was this wolf cub itching for a beating? Xueqi's veins were bulging and he shouted, Get lost immediately. Chapter 304. Wolf King glared at him and shouted, Your attitude is really bad. I will complain about you later. Xueqi was furious. He rolled up his sleeves and shouted, Do you believe that I will loosen your skin today? Che! Wolf King glanced at him with disdain and ran out of the hall. What a bastard! Xueqi cursed. He looked at Qin Feiyong and said, You two better keep an eye on it. Don't let it mess around in the sacred palace. Disciple understands. Qin Feiyong nodded. He was a little annoyed. This ruffian wolf, no matter where it went, it wouldn't stop. It seemed that it would only behave if it was locked up in the castle. Xueqi looked at the white-clothed old man and laughed. Old brother, you stay here and watch. I will bring them to the cultivation room. Get lost. Zhou Dong waved his hand impatiently. Cultivation room? Qin Feiyong frowned and said hurriedly, Elder Xueqi, can you arrange an alchemy room for us? Alchemy room? Xueqi was stunned. Zhou Dong, who was sitting on the chair, suddenly stood up and looked at Qin Feiyong and Xueqi in surprise. What's wrong? Qin Feiyong and Xueqi didn't understand. You two are alchemists? The two old men asked at the same time. Qin Feiyong and Xueqi nodded. Haha, Zhou Dong, who was in a bad mood, immediately laughed. Xueqi, who was proud of himself, had a bitter expression. Qin Feiyong and Xueqi looked at them with a weird expression. Cough, cough. Zhou Dong also realized that he had lost his composure. He stopped laughing and said, Are you two confused about why Xueqi and I reacted so strangely? The two nodded. It wasn't just strange. It was very strange. All right, I will explain it to you. The sacred palace is divided into two camps. One is the Pill Hall. The other is the Martial Arts Hall. I believe I don't need to explain the nature of the Pill Hall and the Martial Arts Hall. Although Xueqi and I are deacon elders, I belong to the Pill Hall while Xueqi belongs to the Martial Arts Hall. Zhou Dong said with a smile. I see. Qin Feiyong mumbled and asked, Then do the clothes you're wearing have any special meaning? You even noticed this. You're really meticulous. That's right. In our temple, those who wear black are martial artists, and those who wear white are alchemists. Zhou Dong said. Qin Feiyong suddenly understood. At this moment, Zhou Dong coldly snorted and said, Zhou Dong, don't be too complacent. Although they are alchemists, their martial talent is even more amazing. When Zhou Dong heard this, he immediately frowned. That's right. Both of them had reached the Battle King realm at such a young age. Such talents were extremely rare. Most likely, his talent in alchemy would be hard to compare. No. We can't make a conclusion so early. Let's test their mental strength first. Zhou Dong mumbled and took out a palm-sized crystal. He smiled and said, This is a spiritual stone. Let's test your mental strength. Lu Hong said, Elder, there's no need to test it. I only have level 5 mental strength. Level 5? Zhou Dong's face was filled with disappointment. Level 5 mental strength was considered top-notch in the county of Yan. However, in the spiritual state which was full of talented people, it was not a big deal at all. What you hear may be false, but seeing is believing. Test it again. Zhou Dong was a little unwilling. Lu Hong was a little helpless. She reached out and pressed on the spiritual stone. Buzz! The spiritual stone vibrated 5 times in a row. Lu Hong felt dizzy and hurriedly retracted her arm. Ha! Xueqi laughed heartily as he turned to look at Zhou Dong and said complacently, You should give up now. Sigh, this is fate. Zhou Dong sighed. But the next moment, he looked at Qin Feiyong expectantly. Don't try any more. His mental strength is definitely not high. Xueqi pursed his lips. It was absolutely impossible for there to be a person who was a genius in both martial arts and alchemy. It's none of your business. Don't talk too much. Zhou Dong glared at him and looked at Qin Feiyong. He smiled and said, Come and test it. Do you really want to test it? Qin Feiyong frowned. Of course. Zhou Dong said without hesitation. He looked quite nervous. All right. Qin Feiyong nodded and reached out to press on the spiritual stone. Buzz! The spiritual stone suddenly vibrated. Once, twice, thrice, 4 times. When it vibrated for the 5th time, the two old men stared intently at the spiritual stone. Buzz! When it vibrated for the 6th time, Zhou Dong's old eyes suddenly shone. Next, 7th time, 8th time, 9th time. At this point, Qin Feiyong did not feel dizzy and was full of energy. Do you want to stop? He hesitated. Zhou Dong laughed and said, Good, good, good. Level 9 mental strength is considered one of the best in spirit state. What? Level 9 mental strength is only one of the best. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. Sure enough, he continued with the test. Buzz! After a few breaths, the spiritual stone vibrated for the 10th time. How is that possible? Lu Hong's pupils constricted. Didn't Qin Feiyong only have level 9 mental strength? He actually has level 10 mental strength. There are only 3 people in the sanctuary who have this. Zhou Dong exclaimed. 3 people? Qin Feiyong frowned. Countless thoughts flashed across his mind. In the end, he stopped and pretended to be dizzy. Is that it? Zhou Dong was stunned. Qin Feiyang rubbed his head and said apologetically, "Elder, I'm really sorry. This disciple only has this bit of talent." "No, no, no." Zhou Dong quickly waved his hand and said with a smile, "Level 10 mental strength is already very rare." Zhou Qi shook his head and said, "No, although level 10 mental strength is rare, it's still not as good as his martial arts talent." Zhou Dong said angrily, "Then what do you want? Let me tell you, if you dare to snatch him, don't blame me for falling out with you on the spot." Zhou Qi said in disdain, "Why are you so agitated? I'm just stating a fact." "Do I need you to state it? You're a dog trying to catch a mouse." Zhou Dong snorted coldly. Zhou Qi was furious, but then the corners of his mouth lifted and he said, "I don't want to talk nonsense with you." He looked at Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong. "Although the final choice is in your hands, I want to remind you that you shouldn't bite off more than you can chew. Don't waste your martial arts talent just to concoct elixirs. If you choose the martial arts hall, I guarantee that you will definitely enjoy the best treatment and focus on grooming. But if you choose the pill hall, to put it bluntly, you will only become someone else's stepping stone. Especially you, Lu Hong. You have level 5 mental strength. You won't be valued at all." Zhou Qi said. It could be said that he was trying his best to persuade him. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "I still choose the pill hall." Lu Hong followed and said, "Wherever he goes, I will follow." Zhou Qi's face darkened, and he was furious. Did he say so much for nothing? Haha, Zhou Qi, don't waste your time. They have outstanding talents, but they still choose to concoct elixirs. Do you know what this means? This means that they have full confidence that they won't delay their cultivation. In other words, they don't need the martial arts hall to nurture them. Zhou Dong kept laughing, and there was a hint of mockery in his eyes. Zhou Qi said angrily, "Will you die if you don't say anything?" Zhou Dong smiled proudly and said, "Qin Feiyang, Lu Hong, let's go. I will bring you to the concoction room." Zhou Qi shouted, "Wait, where is that wolf? It must enter the martial arts hall, right? Bad old man with a bad attitude. Am I close to you? Why should I go to the martial arts hall? Are you begging me? If you beg me, I will give you face." Wolf King, who was hiding outside, walked in arrogantly and looked at Zhou Qi mockingly. Hearing this, Zhou Qi was so angry that he went crazy. He pounced on the Wolf King and shouted, "Wolf Cub, see if this old man doesn't beat you to death today. The situation is tense. Retreat." The Wolf King quivered and fled out of the hole in a flash. "Zhou Qi, a forcibly picked melon won't be sweet. You better stop." Zhou Dong looked at Zhou Qi proudly. He then led Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong out of the main hall happily. He waved his hand and swept up the two people and the wolf. He rushed into the air and flew towards the back of the reception hall. All the way down, Lu Hong and Wolf King were completely dumbfounded. The sacred palace was too big. It took up almost half of the central city area. There were tall palaces everywhere. There were also mountain ranges in the distance. They were like giant pythons lying on the ground. There were even blue lakes, flowing rivers, and towering ancient trees that even a dozen people couldn't encircle. It was like an independent small world. There was actually such a place in a city. It was too simple and shocking. In the reception hall, Zhou Qi was like an ant on a hot pan. He kept walking around, and his face was full of anxiety. "No, we can't let all of them enter the pill hole. But this is their own wish. What should we do?" "Got it. Go and tell the law enforcing elder and the hall master. Ask them to go to the pill hall and ask for them." With that thought, Zhou Qi turned into a stream of light and flew out of the reception hall. He then flew towards a big hall in the distance. At the same time, Zhou Dong brought two people and a wolf and landed in front of a small square. There was a huge ancient castle in front of them. It was as black as ink and emitted an ancient aura. There were 3 big words engraved on top of the castle's gate. Pill Fire Palace. There were some young people going in and out from time to time. There were 2 middle-aged men guarding the castle's gate. They were both wearing white clothes and their aura was unfathomable. When the 2 people and a wolf arrived, the disciples in the square immediately stopped and looked around curiously. Are they new disciples? Why is there a wolf here? Could it be that it knows how to refine pills? Everyone was confused. Zhou Dong brought the 2 people and a wolf to the gate. He smiled at the two middle-aged men and said, "Old friends, this old man has brought you more people." The two middle-aged men glanced at each other. One of them said suspiciously, "You're smiling so happily. Could it be that you have a good seedling?" "Of course." Zhou Dong patted Qin Feiyong's shoulder and chuckled. "This kid is called Qin Feiyong. He has level 10 mental energy." "What? Level 10 mental energy?" The two middle-aged men opened their eyes wide. The other disciples also looked at Qin Feiyong in disbelief. Greetings to the two elders. Greetings to the senior brothers and sisters. I'm new here. Please take care of me in the future. Qin Feiyong cupped his hands and said. He also had a sunny smile on his face. He was very approachable and polite. "Junior brother Qin, you're too humble. Yeah, we should be the ones taking care of you." The disciples laughed. Chapter 305. What they didn't know was that Qin Feiyong was actually observing them. After all, the first thing to do in a strange place was to distinguish between good and evil. This way, he could take precautions in advance. According to his observation, although most people were friendly to him, there were some who had an inexplicable glint in their eyes. There seemed to be hostility hidden in their eyes. "Let's go. I'll take you to the alchemy room." After some pleasantries, Zhou Dong led the two people and the wolf into the Pill Fire Palace. The rest of the disciples also dispersed. Inside a long corridor, Zhou Dong asked, "Qin Feiyong, do you know how many alchemy rooms there are in the Pill Fire Palace?" Qin Feiyong shook his head. "Let me tell you. The Pill Fire Palace has a total of 10 floors. Apart from the 10th floor, each floor has 1,000 alchemy rooms. That's 9,000 alchemy rooms." Zhou Dong smiled. "So many?" Qin Feiyong was surprised. "Not at all. There are hundreds of millions of people in the capital alone, let alone the entire spiritual state. I'm afraid there are at least 900 million people in total, if not 1 billion. Although there are very few people with alchemy talent, there are at least a few 100,000 people in the populous spiritual state." Zhou Dong said. Qin Feiyong asked, "Then why are there only 9,000 alchemy rooms?" "Because there are too many people. We can't cultivate all of them. Therefore, the alchemists who come to the sacred palace and want to enter the Pill Fire Palace need at least a level 5 mental strength." Zhou Dong said. Lu Hong was stunned and smiled bitterly. "So, I'm still at the bottom. When it comes to alchemy, you're definitely at the bottom. But when it comes to martial arts talent, I'm afraid no one in the sacred palace can compare to you. You should be content." Zhou Dong smiled. Lu Hong smiled faintly and asked, "Then how many alchemy rooms are there on the 10th floor?" Zhou Dong said, "The 10th level only has 10 pill refinement rooms, but the disciples who can enter the 10th level are all geniuses in the path of alchemy." Qin Feiyong asked, "In other words, the higher you go, the better the quality of the elixir fire?" Zhou Dong nodded and said, "That's right, because the alchemy fire is sealed on the 10th floor. By the way, let me tell you, that's a rank 3 alchemy fire." At this moment, they had just arrived at the center of the courtyard of the Pill Fire Hall. The atrium was very large, at least a few thousand feet in length. It was surrounded by many alchemy rooms. Qin Feiyong raised his head. His gaze directly passed through the 9 levels and landed on the 10th level. His eyes flashed with a bright light. With a 3rd-grade pill fire, he might be able to refine even higher-grade pills. Qin Feiyong asked again, "What about the pill furnace?" Zhou Dong laughed. "Temple will not equip disciples with pill furnaces. You have to find them yourselves. Also, Temple has rules. All new disciples, no matter how talented they are, can only be arranged in the lowest-level alchemy rooms. If you want a higher-level alchemy room, you have to snatch it yourself." Zhou Dong added, "How? Fight. Then let's fight our way up to the 10th floor now." Wolf King hooted. Zhou Dong was immediately annoyed and said angrily, "This old man will give you a warning. Temple disciples are not allowed to fight in private." Wolf King said disdainfully, "Then aren't we all like flowers in a greenhouse? Nice to look at but useless?" Zhou Dong's old face twitched. If the other disciples heard this, it would probably cause public outrage. "This old man is too lazy to explain it to you. You can slowly understand it yourself." He could see that there was no way to communicate with this ruffian wolf. A moment later, he stopped in between the last two alchemy rooms, looked at Lu Hong and Qin Feiyang, and said with a smile, "This is your alchemy room. Remember to go to the resource hall to get your clothes when you have time. The pill formulas and herbs are also in the resource hall." Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and said, "Thank you for telling me, elder. Then this old man will take his leave first. Work hard and strive to get a seat on the 10th floor as soon as possible." After Zhou Dong finished speaking, he turned and left. After watching him leave, Lu Hong shook her head and said with a smile, "It seems that he still thinks you don't know how to refine pills. Isn't that better?" Qin Feiyang smiled, turned and pushed open the stone door, and suddenly looked a little stunned. Was there a mistake? This alchemy room was only 2 meters wide and long? Excluding the stone table where the pill furnace was placed, the space for movement was probably only 1 meter. Wasn't it too narrow? With Wolf King's size, there was no way he could get in. Lu Hong also smiled bitterly again and again. In such a small place, 2 people standing in it seemed crowded. Moreover, it was also very messy inside. Bottles and jars were everywhere. Lu Hong smiled helplessly and said, "Wait a minute, I'll go in and tidy it up." Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said, "No, we'll change to another alchemy room later. White-eyed wolf, you go and find out the news." "Yes, you have to be so domineering. This is in line with your identity. Little Qin Zi." The Wolf King chuckled, turned around, and dashed outside. Qin Feiyang also followed into the alchemy room, took out the bronze pill furnace, and placed it above the fire outlet of the stone table. Then, he pressed the button next to him, and a flame suddenly spewed out. Qin Feiyang was surprised. This pill fire was actually light blue? Lu Hong stood at the door, and couldn't help but show a strange light in her eyes, but more than that, she was looking forward to it. Phew! Qin Feiyang took a deep breath. Regardless of the color of the pill fire, his spiritual force emerged from the top of his head and rushed towards the pill fire, slowly fusing with it. At the same time, the 10th floor. Alchemy room number 2. This alchemy room was very large, more than 100 meters in size. Not only was there an independent alchemy room, but there was also an independent lounge and a cultivation room. Coffee table, chairs, beds, everything was available. Compared to this alchemy room, Qin Feiyang's alchemy room was simply a pile of dog shit. At this moment, in the lounge, there were 3 young men in white sitting, all of whom had a dignified appearance and outstanding temperament. And there was a kind of arrogance between their eyebrows that looked down on everything. And there was a person standing in front of them. This person's face was yellow and thin, and his body was short. He looked at the 3 young men in white with a respectful face. The young man in white sitting in the middle said lightly, "Huang San, tell us, why are you looking for us?" Huang San said respectfully, "Senior brothers, there's a new disciple just now." Before he could finish, the young man in white raised his eyebrows and stretched out his hand. "Wait, what's so strange about a new disciple? You even called us here. Do you think we're all bored?" The other 2 also looked dissatisfied. Huang San said anxiously, "Senior brothers, this new disciple can't be underestimated, because he also has a level 10 spiritual force." "What?" The 3 of them suddenly stood up, a trace of shock on their faces. The young man in white in the middle asked, "Is it true?" Huang San said, "Elder Zhou Dong said it himself. I was there at that time and heard it with my own ears. It's definitely not false." "What's his name? How old is he?" the 3 of them asked. Huang San said, "Qin Feiyang, looking at his appearance, he should be around 17 or 18 years old." "Qin Feiyang? Why haven't I heard of him?" Logically speaking, a person with a level 10 spiritual force is definitely not an unknown person. The 3 of them looked at each other and frowned. The young man in white on the left asked, "How is he?" Huang San said, "Very polite, but looks a little silly, probably not very bright." At this point, Huang San's eyes turned cold, and he continued, "But if he continues to grow, I'm afraid he will threaten your position in the temple." "Silly?" The 3 of them looked at each other and smiled, not taking it to heart. The young man in white in the middle took out 10 battle chi pills and threw them on the ground like trash, saying, "These pills are your reward, you can go now." If one looked closely, they would be surprised to find that there was a very faint pill pattern on the 10 battle chi pills. "Thank you, Senior Brother Lu." Huang San was overjoyed, and without any self-respect, he knelt on the ground and picked them up. After thanking him, he excitedly ran out of the alchemy room. Lu Ji Ziyuan, this Qin Feiyang. What do you think? After Huang San left, the two people on the left and right looked at the young man in white in the middle. Lu Ji Ziyuan pursed a confident smile and said, "Isn't it easy to deal with a person who is not very bright? Wait for me for a while, I will refine a batch of healing pills and bone-replenishing pills, then I will go and meet him." After that, Lu Ji Ziyuan walked towards the alchemy room. Healing pills and bone-replenishing pills are such low-level pills. Why are you still refining them? The two people looked at him in confusion. Do you think I want to refine them? This is the Patriarch's order, can I say no? Sigh, this person is too outstanding, it is also a kind of trouble. Lu Ji Ziyuan shook his head, entered the alchemy room, and lowered his head to busy himself. Back to Qin Feiyang. The third-grade pill fire was indeed powerful. It took Qin Feiyang 2 hours just to fuse with it. Then, after wasting 10 sets of medicinal ingredients for the heal pill, he was finally able to control the heat and quickly concoct a supreme-grade heal pill. The moment the pill came out of the furnace, a strong medicinal fragrance assaulted his face. Qin Feiyang grabbed it in his hand, ignoring the rolling temperature, and lowered his head to check it. Lu Hong also immediately came over. The healing pill was round and smooth, without a single flaw, and the pill pattern was even more dazzling than before. After a few glances, Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, "Although it has improved a little, it is still not enough, the quality of the pill fire here is too poor." Lu Hong suddenly said, "No, look, there seems to be an extra pill pattern." N. Qin Feiyang stared blankly and looked over. At that moment, his eyes burst with light. Beside that dazzling pill pattern, there was indeed a circle of pill pattern, but it was very blurry and could almost be ignored. Lu Hong asked, "Is there a pill with 2 pill patterns in the world?" "Yes. Not only 2, there are 3, 4. The more pill patterns there are, the better the effect. The best medicinal pill I've seen in the imperial capital has 5 veins." Qin Feiyang was completely immersed in excitement. If he could get the alchemy room on the 10th floor, it was absolutely possible to refine a pill with 2 pill patterns. Da-da. At this moment, steady footsteps could be heard. Someone is coming. Lu Hong was shocked. Qin Feiyang also hurriedly put away the alchemy room and the bronze furnace, walked out of the alchemy room, and looked in the direction of the footsteps. The footsteps came closer and closer. Soon, 3 young men in white entered Qin Feiyang's line of sight. Chapter 306. The 3 of them were smiling, but there were daggers hidden in their smiles. Lu Hong whispered, "They don't come with good intentions." Qin Feiyang said, "Seeing them reminds me of you, Ji Jin, and Ling Yan. What's your name?" "Yes, Xueqi." Lu Hong was slightly stunned and said angrily, "Can you not mention the stupid things back then? It's so embarrassing." Qin Feiyang couldn't help but laugh. Qin Feiyang. The 3 of them walked over, glanced at Lu Hong, and then fixed their eyes on Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and said, "Yes. May I ask who the 3 of you are?" Lu Ziyuan smiled and said, "I'm Lu Ziyuan. The 2 next to me are Xiao Hong and Dong Cheng. We both have level 10 spiritual power." "So it's the 3 of them." Qin Feiyang muttered to himself and said with a smile, "I've heard a lot about you, senior brothers. Please take care of me in the future." Lu Ziyuan and the other 2 looked at each other and smiled. Huang San was right. This person was indeed stupid. Xiao Hong said playfully, "It's not a problem to take care of you, but you should at least show some sincerity, right?" "What sincerity?" Qin Feiyang continued to play dumb. Xiao Hong said, "The 3 of us are the leaders. In the future you will listen to us." "If that's the case, wouldn't I become your little follower?" Qin Feiyang frowned. Dong Cheng said with a smile, "Many people want to be our follower but don't have the chance." Xiao Hong added, "So, it's your blessing to be our follower. Do you understand?" "That's true. Let junior brother think about it first." Qin Feiyang lowered his head and pondered, looking very conflicted. The smiles on the 3 of their faces became brighter. Just his brain and IQ alone were not worthy of compliments. Lu Hong, who was next to them, was silent, but her cheeks were a little red. She was holding it in. She was very amused. Weren't these 3 people too full of themselves? How dare they boast so shamelessly and ask Qin Feiyong to be their lackey? Where did they find the courage? Have you thought about it? Don't waste our time, Dong Qing urged impatiently. Qin Feiyong hesitated. Lu Ziyuan shot a disdainful glance at Qin Feiyong and said, "Looks like we have to let him see the world. Dong Cheng, give him a few medicinal pills to see." "All right." Dong Cheng smiled playfully. He took out 3 pills from his heaven and earth and threw them to Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong grabbed it and looked at it carefully. They were a healing pill, a qi-gathering pill, and a battle qi pill. Lu Hong moved closer to take a look and said in surprise, "There's actually a pill vein?" Dong Cheng said proudly, "How is it? Are you shocked?" Qin Feiyong smiled foolishly and said, "Senior brother Dong Cheng, you're really amazing. But this pill vein is too blurry. Is it a semi-finished product?" "A semi-finished product?" Dong Cheng raised his eyebrows and looked a little displeased. But when he saw Qin Feiyong's silly look, his displeasure turned into disdain. "Although the pill vein is very blurry, it is indeed a supreme-grade pill. You haven't seen the world, so I won't argue with you," Dong Cheng said. "I see." Qin Feiyong nodded in realization. Xiao Hong frowned and said, "Don't be long-winded. Just say it. Do you want to be our lackey?" "Xiao Hong, don't be so fierce. You'll scare him." Lu Ziyuan patted Xiao Hong's shoulder and looked at Qin Feiyong with a smile, saying, "Junior brother Qin, as long as you agree, when we're in a good mood, we'll teach you how to refine pills." Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "Many thanks for senior brother Lu's kindness, but this junior brother is really unworthy." And the smile on Lu Ziyuan's face froze. "Giving face but not taking it?" Lu Ziyuan said in a low voice. "You have to think carefully. If you don't curry favor with us in the temple, you won't be able to move an inch." Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "It's fine. I like to be like a snail, crawling slowly. Senior brother Dong Cheng, I'll return the pills to you." With a wave of his hand, 3 pills flew towards Dong Cheng. Dong Cheng's gaze turned cold. He grabbed them in his hand and crushed them directly, saying, "You're courting death." Qin Feiyong hurriedly waved his hand and said, "No, no, no. I don't have any other meaning. I just don't like being ordered around." Lu Ziyuan said, "I'll give you one last chance." Qin Feiyong hesitated for a moment, then grinned and said, "If 3 senior apprentice brothers can give up a pill refinement room, I'll be your little follower. How about it?" And the 3 people exchanged glances, a hint of a sneer creeping onto their faces. Did he not take a look at who he was? To actually still dare to negotiate terms with them? Was he tired of living? Xiao Hong smiled coldly and said, "Is the 10th level's pill refinement room also something that you have the qualifications to dip your fingers into? Really refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit?" Qin Feiyong thought about it and asked naively, "Senior brother Xiao Hong, what's a forfeit? Have you eaten it before? Tell me, what does it taste like?" Lu Hong finally could not hold back and burst out laughing. She did not expect that Qin Feiyong was actually quite talented in playing dumb. These 3 fellows who thought themselves infallible thought that they were very smart, but in reality, they were being played in circles by others and were completely unaware. Xiao Hong clenched both hands tightly and shouted, "Stinking woman, shut up for me immediately." "Ah!" Lu Hong was stunned and said with a bright smile, "What if I don't shut up?" And Lu Ziyu and 3 people all looked at Lu Hong, a hint of surprise in their eyes. Clearly, they did not expect that a woman dared to contradict them too. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "3 senior brothers, don't get angry. Children don't know anything. Please bear with them." Lu Hong rolled her eyes. She was already 18 years old, already an adult. But Qin Feiyong was only 17 years old now, even a year younger than her. How could he have the nerve to call her a child? The 3 people sized up Lu Hong, a cold light flickering in their eyes. "Qin Feiyong, I'll give you 1 day's time. If you still don't agree by tomorrow, then I, Lu Ziyuan, can tell you very responsibly. From today onwards, there will be no place for you in the temple. Let's go." Lu Ziyuan waved his hand and turned around to leave. "Best not provoke us. Otherwise you'll get it." Before Xiao Hong and Dong Qing left, they also left a cold sentence. These three people are really arrogant. Lu Hong's face was full of disgust. I like to deal with such arrogant people. The higher they jump, the more painful it will be when they fall. Qin Feiyong raised the corner of his mouth and said with a faint smile, "Three senior brothers, please wait." The three of them looked at each other and smiled. They stopped and turned to look at Qin Feiyong. They thought that Qin Feiyong had thought it through and wanted to be their little follower. Qin Feiyong was about to speak. Swish. But at this moment, two black figures broke through the air like lightning. One of them was Xueqi. The person next to him was a middle-aged man. He had a tall and straight body, and his eyebrows were like swords, with a piercing sharpness. "Greetings, Elder Shi." As soon as this person arrived, Lu Ziyuan and the other two immediately bowed to welcome him. The middle-aged man stopped in the corridor and glanced at the three of them indifferently. Lu Ziyuan said respectfully, "May I know why Elder Shi has come to see us?" Xueqi said with a smile, "Elder Shi is not here for you." Lu Ziyuan and the other two were puzzled. If he was not here for them, what was he doing here? Elder Shi looked at Qin Feiyong and Lu Hong and said to Xueqi, "Is it them?" "Yes." Xueqi nodded. Elder Shi immediately walked towards Qin Feiyong and Lu Hong. Xueqi followed closely behind. "Is he here for them? How is this possible?" Lu Ziyuan and the other two looked at each other, their eyes full of disbelief. They were just two new disciples. Why did Elder Shi have to come here personally? A strong sense of anger welled up in his heart. At first, they all thought that Elder Shi was here for them. It turned out that they were just thinking too much. It had nothing to do with them at all. It seems that Elder Shi is a big shot. At the same time, Qin Feiyong and Lu Hong looked at each other with a trace of fear in their eyes. This person did not have any aura around him, but he gave off a great sense of danger. He was like a ferocious beast that did not bare its fangs. Xueqi smiled and said, "Qin Feiyong, Lu Hong, the person beside me is Shi Ming. He is the Martial Arts Hall's Enforcement Elder. Hurry up and greet him." The Martial Arts Hall's Enforcement Elder. Qin Feiyong and Lu Hong's pupils contracted. They hurriedly cupped their hands and said, "Greetings, Elder Shi." Shi Ming sized up the two and said, "I heard from Xueqi that you are quite talented in martial arts. Why did you go astray and choose alchemy?" "What? Is Elder Shi here to snatch people?" Lu Ziyuan and the other two were shocked. Qin Feiyong cupped his hands and said, "Thank you for your kindness, Elder Shi, but we prefer alchemy." "What's so good about alchemy?" Shi Ming's face was full of disdain. He said, "As long as you change your mind and come to my martial arts hall, I promise to give you cultivation rooms number 1 and 2. What was going on? Qin Feiyong had level 10 spiritual power. On the path of alchemy, his future could be said to be bright. But now, not only did Elder Shi come to snatch people openly, but he also offered such amazing conditions. Could it be that the martial arts talent of these two people and one wolf far surpassed their alchemy talent? Hearing Shi Ming's words, Lu Ziyuan and the other two were full of disbelief. Until now, they finally realized that they had greatly underestimated this person. Qin Feiyong and Lu Hong also looked at each other. They did not expect Xueqi to invite the enforcement elder. Lu Hong said in a low voice, "The treatment in the martial arts hall is indeed better than here." Qin Feiyong said helplessly, "It can't be helped. They don't have alchemy rooms there." Xueqi smiled and said, "Qin Feiyong, Lu Hong, this is a good opportunity. You have to cherish it. Coming to my side to snatch people, do you have to get my consent too?" Right at this moment, a displeased voice sounded. A beautiful woman descended here like lightning. She was wearing a long white dress. Her face was slightly weathered, but still charming. Her figure was exquisite and did not match her age at all. Beside the beautiful woman, there was another person. It was precisely Zhou Dong. "Greetings to Elder Lu." "Greetings to Elder Zhou Dong." Lu Ziyuan and the other two bowed one after another. But stormy waves were set off in their hearts. Two great elders came one after another. What was this situation? The two of them merely nodded their heads indifferently and walked towards Qin Feiyong and the other man. This feeling of being ignored made the three especially angry. Zhou Dong said disdainfully, "Xueqi, I knew you wouldn't stop." "Humph." Xueqi snorted through his nose and said, "I'm thinking for them." Letting them stay here is simply hindering their future. Chapter 307. Before Elder Shi and Elder Lu could say anything, the two brothers started fighting. What's going on? What's so special about them that they need to fight like this? Lu Ziyuan and the other two clenched their fists. Even when they entered the sacred palace, they didn't receive such treatment. Why did these two have it? At this moment, Elder Lu waved her hand without turning her head. Lu Ziyuan, go do what you need to do. She actually chased them away? Lu Ziyuan and the other two couldn't believe it. After coming to the sacred palace for so long, Elder Lu had never ignored them like this. This was the first time. Just because of these two new disciples. They couldn't accept it. On what basis? Elder Lu suddenly turned her head and looked at the three of them. She shouted, I told you to leave. Didn't you hear me? Yes. The three of them trembled and hurriedly left as if they were running for their lives. When they turned around, their eyes were filled with ruthlessness. They could already feel the threat. If they let these two continue to stay in the pill hole, they would climb over their heads sooner or later. Walking into the courtyard, Lu Ziyuan turned around and looked at Xiao Hong and Dong Cheng. He said coldly, I'm going back home. Once the four elders leave, you guys can teach them a lesson. All right. The two of them nodded. Lu Ziyuan waved his hand and a teleportation door opened. He walked in with big strides. Xiao Hong and Dong Qing also jumped a few times and landed on the 10th floor. They stood side by side in front of the railing and looked down. Their eyes were filled with ruthlessness. Outside the alchemy room, the brothers, Zhou Dong and Zhou Shi, were still fighting each other. Elder Shi and Elder Lu looked at Qin Feiyang and Dong Cheng with a strange light in their eyes. Elder Lu suddenly said, All right, both of you shut up. Humph. The two brothers snorted at the same time and retreated to the side. Zhou Dong said, Qin Feiyang, Lu Hong, don't be afraid. Elder Lu Yun is our enforcement elder. She won't let some people do whatever they want here. Zhou Dong, what do you mean? I'm only here to persuade them. I didn't do anything. You call this doing whatever you want? Shi Ming frowned. Lu Yun said, You barged in without my permission. Aren't you doing whatever you want? Shi Ming said disdainfully, I can't be bothered to argue with a woman with long hair and short knowledge. My hair is long but my knowledge is short? Lu Yun was taken aback as he sneered. I think you are the descendant of a pig. You are all brawn and no brains. Shi Ming glared at her and shouted, You stinking woman, can't you watch your mouth? Lu Yun said with a smile. That depends on who it is. I'm already very polite to a shameless person like you. You, Shi Ming pointed at Lu Yun and said angrily, All right, you're impressive. I won't waste my breath on you, all right? He looked at Qin Feiyang and the other man, and said, Where should we go? Think about it carefully. Don't be led astray by some people. Lu Yun frowned and said, He has level 10 spiritual energy, and his future achievements in alchemy are limitless. Joining your martial arts hall would be a mistake. What about her? Shi Ming pointed at Lu Hong and said angrily, She only has level 5 spiritual energy. She has no future in alchemy. Aren't you letting her stay here mislead others? Lu Yun sneered and said, She is willing to stay here. What does it have to do with you? Qin Feiyang and the other man looked at each other. Zhou Shi and Zhou Dong had just finished their quarrel, and now the two of them were at it again. They couldn't let this go on. If they really fought, the commotion would be even bigger. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and said, Elder Shi, can you listen to me? Shi Ming was stunned and said, Go ahead. It's my honor that Elder Shi can come here personally. However, I really like alchemy. Besides, the Pill Hall and the Martial Arts Hall are both part of the Sacred Hall. I will not admit that I am a disciple of the Pill Hall, and I will not admit that I am a disciple of the Martial Arts Hall. Because I am a disciple of the Sacred Hall. So, Elder, there is no need to be so biased. Everyone should support each other. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. This, Shi Ming frowned. What Shi Ming said was reasonable, and he couldn't find a reason to refute it. What about you? He looked at Lu Hong, unwilling to give up. Lu Hong said, I will say the same thing again. Wherever Qin Feiyang is, I will be there. Shi Ming looked at the two of them deeply and sighed, Fine. Since this is your choice, I will not force you. Xueqi's expression changed. He hurriedly said, Elder Shi, but before he could say anything, Shi Ming waved his hand and said, forget it. Everyone has their own aspirations. You can't force them. He looked at Qin Feiyang and the other man and said with a smile, if you are not happy here, you can come to the martial arts hall to find me any time. Thank you, Elder Shi. Qin Feiyang and the other man cupped their hands and thanked him. Lu Yun, congratulations. However, let's see if you have the ability to tie them to the pill hall for the rest of their lives. Shi Ming pursed his lips into a meaningful smile and quickly left with Xueqi. Zhou Dong said worriedly, Elder Lu, Elder Shi wouldn't be scheming something, right? It doesn't matter. Lu Yun smiled disdainfully. He looked at Qin Feiyang and the other man and said, you are right to choose to stay in the pill hall. After all, alchemists like us are much more precious than martial artists. Precious? Qin Feiyang and the other man looked at each other and smiled bitterly. It seemed like the sacred hall wasn't as peaceful as it looked on the surface. Lu Yun said a few more words and left with Zhou Dong. Although it seems like the martial arts hall and the pill hall have merged into the sacred hall on the surface, they are actually on their own. There are many internal conflicts. Qin Feiyang sighed. It seemed like they had to be more careful than before. Lu Hong nodded and said, now I finally understand why the mansion lord told us to keep a low profile. It was because he didn't want them to be too dazzling. He didn't want them to be targeted and bring trouble. Unfortunately, they didn't take the mansion lord's instructions to heart. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly and said, I'm already keeping a low profile. Otherwise, my mental strength would be enough to shake the entire spiritual state. Yeah, what's up with your mental strength? Wasn't it level 9 in the past? How did it suddenly become level 10? Lu Hong was surprised. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, back in the Black Bear City, I didn't want to enter the pill hall. So when Feng Cheng tested my mental strength, I deliberately hid it. Lu Hong was enlightened. This person really hid his strength well. He deceived everyone in the county of Yan. Suddenly, her eyes trembled as she said in surprise, from what you said just now, did you deliberately hide it this time? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, when I tested my mental strength to level 10, my mental strength was still very strong. So, it's definitely not level 10. Lu Hong was surprised and said, then, what level is your mental strength? I didn't seriously test it, so I don't know. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Freak. Lu Hong looked at him in shock as if she was looking at a monster. If Lu Ziyuan and the others knew about this, what would they think? This freak was indeed not comparable to ordinary people. Brother is back. At this moment, Wolf King came back as fast as lightning. Qin Feiyang asked, how's the investigation? There are 2 ways to snatch the alchemy room. First, defeat the other party with alchemy. Second, go to the training field and fight and defeat the other party. But no private fighting is allowed. Wolf King said. Lu Hong smiled and said, that's easy. With your alchemy skills, you can completely crush Lu Ziyuan and the others. Wolf King asked suspiciously, how do you know Lu Ziyuan? Lu Hong covered her mouth and laughed. He came just now and wanted Qin Feiyang to be his little follower. Damn, this person really doesn't know his own weight. Wolf King sneered. Qin Feiyang asked, do you know his background? Yes. He's a celebrity in the temple. Lu Ziyuan, level 10 mental strength, is a disciple of the Lu family, and is now a 7-star battle king. Wolf King pursed his lips and said. Qin Feiyang's face twitched. Another person from the Lu family. Why was he so fated with the Lu family? Lu Hong asked doubtfully, what about Dong Cheng and Xiao Hong? Their backgrounds are not simple either. The Dong family and the Xiao family are both super families in the city, enough to be on par with the Lu family. Both of them are 7-star battle kings. But apart from them, there's another person who's the most awesome. Wolf King said. Qin Feiyang asked, is it Lu Xingchen? No, it's a woman. What's her name again? By the way, Murong Jing has a level 11 mental strength and can refine the real supreme grade pills. Moreover, she's an 8-star battle king and the owner of Alchemy Room No. 1. But it's said that this woman keeps a very low profile. Ever since she came to the temple, she rarely shows herself. She doesn't compete with anyone for fame or fortune, and she has never refined pills to outsiders. Wolf King said. Lu Hong smiled and said, she already has alchemy room number 1. What's there to compete for? What's there to compete for? That's not right. If alchemy room number 1 belongs to Murong Jing, then what about Lu Xingchen? His cultivation is even stronger than Ren Wushuang's. We've seen the pills he refined. Shouldn't alchemy room number 1 belong to him? Qin Feiyong was puzzled. You guys don't know about this, right? According to what I heard, there's another very awesome place in the temple. This place is the inner hall. Only disciples who have broken through to the War Emperor realm are qualified to enter the inner hall. This Lu Xingchen is in the inner hall, Wolf King said proudly. Inner hall? Qin Feiyong and Lu Hong looked at each other with a trace of surprise in their eyes. Although Qin Feiyong was the son of the emperor, he had been in the imperial palace all year round. Plus, he was still young at that time, and his status was noble at that time. Therefore, he only knew a little about the temple. And this so-called inner hall was also the first time he had heard of it. Wolf King said mysteriously, I also heard that entering the inner hall will give you the chance to enter the imperial capital. Qin Feiyong's gaze trembled. It seemed that he really had to make a trip to the inner hall. But before that, he had to break through to the War Emperor realm. Qin Feiyong, get over here. At this moment, a loud roar exploded in the Pill Fire Palace, alarming everyone in the Pill Fire Palace. It was Xiao Hong's voice. What's going on? Who is Qin Feiyong? Senior brother Xiao Hong's tone seems to be a little angry.